Okay, Asuna, what you're gonna want to do here is... Wow, I thought she was hopeless, but her technique is flawless. If I didn't know any better, I'd say she was even better than I am.
Kirito, I killed the thing and now it says I have XPs. Is that bad? Am I dying?
Or maybe not.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that's so pathetic, even our waifus are thinking about divorcing us. I am Jeremy.
What?
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Like us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. At the beginning of the show, you heard theme music by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums at amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show was Sword Art Online Abridged by SAO Abridged on YouTube. You can find their videos on youtube.com. How was the weekend?
All right. I just
finally recovering from a week-long illness.
Oh.
It wasn't week-long. It was almost 2 weeks, man. You should have seen him. He started complaining like in the middle of Saturday. It looked fine. He was just like, he started complaining about death, and then next thing you know, he won't get up.
That's no good.
Oh.
Yeah, which is usually, it's a usual Saturday, except he was coughing during the whole time.
Oh, man. The fever dream I had was, I was out of my damn mind.
How many doctors did you see?
It depended on which way I was laying in my bed. But I saw maybe like 5.
You saw 5 doctors over the course of the week?
Oh, no. I didn't see any doctors.
See, there's the point I wanted to get to. If you're having fever dreams, you need to see a goddamn doctor.
Well, not always. Sometimes it's just a long flu.
Fever dreams? No, that's usually, if you're hallucinating, you usually need to see a guy. Unfortunately, I had lost the last recording we did, and my computer decided to turn it into electronic garbage, which is why this is the first time people have heard from us in about 2 weeks. So we're going to get back into our conversation at Cowboy Bebop, as well as I've got something else I'm going to throw into the mix just to make people jump and say hi-de-ho. Before that, though, we've got our usual, beginning with the Kickstarter corner. We actually do have a little bit of stuff in it. First off, we have Wilderness Adventures, a 28mm scale fantasy gaming train. This is being done by FatDragonGames.com. They've come up with an interesting idea that I wish I had thought of. On cardstock, they will give you patterns to print out to create 3D terrains for your D&D miniatures.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
This goes into the cases of cliffsides, volcanoes, temples, cottages with rooster feet for some reason, trees, campsites, just all kinds of very simple ideas that it's frankly brilliant. They even have hobbit houses, in case you ever want to put a little figurine in a gray robe outside and start screaming about how no one may pass and shit like that. But they have passed a ton of their stretch goals. This project has 15 days to go. It ends on Monday, February 23rd. Has 389 backers. The goal to get this started is $1,000. Remember, I said this had under 400 backers. They've already gained $28,057. I don't know who these 389 people are, but they obviously have some money to frackin' burn. But they've gotten stretch goals to the point where they're going to add patterns for a sphinx, a goblin camp, a volcano, a campsite with a lean-to shelter.
I want the volcano.
Tree creatures, swamp adventure books, a tent pack, a 3D wagon, and sci-fi textures. Next up at 29,000, the Desert Oasis. Holy fuck, man! They've gotten a long way.
Yeah.
Again, it's a very simple idea that somebody's just plain first to do, and I have both jealousy and it's a bit of jealousy, but also a bit of awe at their simple ingenuity is to put this together. This is one of the things that could be fun for a lot of role-playing parties.
Yeah. I would love to have some of this stuff. I actually would love to support this, but I don't know if I can at the moment.
Yeah, the only unfortunate side effect, though, is that this would be the first mountain you could ever own that could be toppled by Cheetos.
Or cats.
Oh. And you summon a Sphinx and it destroys the table. Thank you.
For I am Kitty, destroyer of miniatures.
I've got a couple more here. First off, remember we talked a long time ago about Accentware, the cat-eared headphones?
Yeah.
They're actually up for sale now. You can go back to the Indiegogo page they were on, and you can actually buy for $170 a pair, which includes shipping and tax. You can get the blue, red, green, or purple earphones. When the Indiegogo was running, you get these for $150. The difference between that and the retail is apparently only $20. And you can buy all four in a single package for $650. They're still adorable. They still look amazing. I'm immensely curious about them. I still don't know if I have an actual use for them.
I'm in the same boat.
I think that's a mark of a good product. When you want it so much and you have no idea what the frick you do once you got your hands on it. That means they got you. It's like the only thing stopping me from buying them is as soon as I put them on my head, I just go, I feel ridiculous. Take them off. But I really like them. Put them back on. But I feel ridiculous. Can't fault them for doing it well. I don't frickin' know. Last Kickstarter I have, or last crowdfunder, is Exploding Kittens by Elon Lee.
Exploding
What?
Kittens.
It's called Exploding Kittens. Thankfully, it is not a literal meaning behind that name.
I would hope not.
Okay, it's basically one of those. It's one of those card games like Apples to Apples. It's a card game, according to Elon Lee here. This is a card game for people who are into kittens and explosions and laser beams and sometimes goats. It's just one of those weird associative games you can play with a group of friends. They have versions that are both safe for work and not safe for work. Now, according to the Kickstarter, how it works is you put cards on the table and take turns drawing them. If you draw a kitten card, you explode. If you explode, you die and you are out of the game. Unless you play a diffuse card, which can diffuse the kitten. Things like laser pointers, kitten therapy, catnip sandwiches. Or you can play various cards to skip your turn and attack other players, peek at the deck, or secretly relocate an exploding kitten card.
I'm gonna have to look into this. This is cool.
Yeah.
You can also play cat cards, which are different forms of kittens. Cat cards activate special powers when played as multiples, such as Rainbow Ralphing Cat, Overweight Bikini Cat, Hairy Potato Cat, and Taco Cat. I wonder if this is the safe for work version. What the fuck is the not safe for work version?
Right?
Well, this particular crowdfunder has 11 days to go, has 142,109 backers. The goal to get this started, to put in production, is $10,000. Currently sits at $5,619,256.
Jesus.
Right? Everyone really wants exploding kittens.
All you can get right now are the Exploding Kittens deck for $20 and the Not Safe for Work deck at $35. There were 200 available at $100 for a collector's deck. It's all gone. $500 or more, the Deck of Legends. Everything from the previous rewards, plus each of the game creators will draw you a custom card. All gone. Okay, now, my math is a little suck here, but that means that at $500, they only had room for $2,500 worth of backers. At $100, they only had room for $2,000 worth of backers. Those are all gone, and they're still racking up over $5 million in goddamn donations. That tell you anything about how this is? I'm going to find this at a convention, I swear to fucking God.
Yeah.
I'm just going to walk by and someone screams, Taco Cats! Fuck what? And according to this, they've hit all kinds of weird goals. They are 10,000% funded. They want somebody created an Exploding Kittens Wikipedia page. They have over 100,000 backers. They have the most back campaign ever. 10,000 Twitter followers. 10,000 Facebook likes. Post a photo of 10 people wearing cat ears. What?
Accentware.
I don't know. The success to this is just beyond me. And unfortunately, as infantile as it is, I kind of want to play it.
Oh, this looks great.
You found it?
Yes.
It's charming, and it only takes $35 to get into it, and not safe for work.
I'm
You're going to piss your boyfriend off?
actually, that's no longer an issue.
Oh, wait, what?
I kind of broke up with him a couple weeks ago.
No shit, what happened?
It's
Wait, do you want that here?
yeah, probably not.
Get into that another time. Okay, astonished. We'll get into that another time. Let's see. From there, we'll move into video game news. And for those that are following along, like I said, we had a technical difficulty. So some of this is going to be rehashed depending on how big the news was in the last couple of weeks. Some of this is going to be brand new. So don't be surprised if the conversation kind of goes through dips and valleys. There's only 2 stories in video game news from the last couple of weeks that I thought were important enough to talk about. First off is that Best Buy has pissed off a lot of people looking for new 3DSs. There's a new limited edition Majora's Mask edition of the 3DS XL coming out. It's gold. It has an embossed Majora's Mask on the top lid, as well as some kind of etching that I can't really see from the graphic I've got. And Best Buy was one of the people putting out exclusive pre-orders for this. Turns out they overdid the pre-order. They oversold it to the point where they have to cancel several orders. They're offering $50 discounts to customers whose orders were canceled. And the email they sent out as of about a week and a half ago, this would just piss me off if I got this. All it says is, "Hello, we're sorry, but there is an issue with your pre-order. The popularity of Nintendo 3DS XL Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask Limited Edition Gold Black exceeded the quantities made available to Best Buy. As a result, we are unable to fulfill all the pre-orders received. We regret that your particular order has been canceled, and we know that this is disappointing. We want to make it up to you by offering a $50 discount that may be used towards the purchase of one of these alternate options or other products on BestBuy.com. Nintendo 3DS XL Black, Nintendo 3DS XL Red." Meanwhile, and now that's the end of the letter. I would be kind of pissed that my exclusive version of a 3DS is no longer coming, and all you're offering me is a just base version 3DS. Even at $50 off, you would have my hate for quite a while.
That's really shitty.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you can find this. This story is about 10 days old, so odds are even the limited editions are probably sold out everywhere by now. Whoever got that email from Best Buy probably went to one of their competitors or GameStop in a fucking hurry. So I imagine if you don't have one by now, it's gone. You know, go to eBay and expect to pay a couple $100 more, frankly. And we did touch on this during the last recording, but I got a little bit of new information. The new Star Wars arcade machine is out.
Ooh.
The Star Wars Battle Pod arcade game, remember we discussed this. This
Yep.
has a 180-degree dome screen that you look at. It covers your peripheral vision. You sit down in it. The machine itself seems to be based on a Namco Bandai Gundam fighting game that came out a while ago, but of course it's been modified for Star Wars. And I found out that Dave & Buster's has them.
Really?
Yeah, the adult arcade places that sell beer and stuff. If you have a local Dave & Buster's, odds are you'll be able to find these machines. You can use this machine to play the Hoth scene from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, piloting a snowspeeder. You can pilot the Millennium Falcon. You can do an original story exclusive to the game where you're piloting a TIE Fighter Advance and playing as Darth Vader on a mission to defend a secret hidden weapon in the Death Star. I'm not much into Star Wars games. This I want to try.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Unfortunately, I can just imagine the look on my kids' faces. They're just, nope, my turn. Not like I'm shoving them away by their head or anything, but I'd want to sit down in this thing, and so would they. From there, we will move into Marvel Media News, and it does have a lot of variants to it this time around. First off, in regards to Fox's latest X-Men film, X-Men Apocalypse, the one set in the 80s.
Yep.
Storyline is still relatively unknown. They've already cast several people in the movie. Alexander Shipp, Sophie Turner, and Ty Sheridan are going to play Storm, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. The only name I'm readily familiar with any of those is Sophie Turner, who plays Sansa in Game of Thrones for HBO. And she's a striking actress.
Yes, she's very lovely.
Yeah. I don't think there's a loss there, except for the fact that I really don't know anything about Alexander Schiff or Ty Sheridan. I think I've heard their names in other projects, but I couldn't tell you for the life of me who they are.
Me either.
But that wasn't the only news about X-Men Apocalypse. It's apparently been confirmed that the young lady who played Moira MacTaggert in X-Men First Class is being brought back for this movie.
Really?
Yes. Rose Byrne was her name. She's going to be reprising the role. Simon Kinberg, the screenwriter of the movie, said, quote, "She's a significant character in X-Men Apocalypse. We ended First Class with Charles having wiped portions of her memory of her existence with the X-Men. They are essentially strangers to her when she meets them," unquote. And Kinberg went on to say that their relationship with her relationship with Professor X will be key to the new film. Quote, "It's certainly a rich relationship that we started to dig into in First Class and would like to mine more in this one," unquote. They have a rich relationship in the comics. It'll be interesting to see if that can carry over at all into the movies. And let me see, it was also announced a couple weeks ago that Marvel has Chiwetel Ejiofor in talks for an unknown role in Doctor Strange.
What?
The actor's name is Chiwetel Ejiofor.
He was in the movie Serenity.
Oh.
Yeah, he played the black guy that was falling around with the sword, the real creepy dude.
Yeah.
They haven't said what exactly they're doing with him, although with a little bit of knowledge of Doctor Strange history, he could be Brother Voodoo, frankly. Tell you what, I will send you an image of a recent photo of him. Now, obviously this came off some kind of show or movie, so this may not be indicative of what he'll look like in the film. He's not a bad-looking guy.
Yep.
Now, keep that image in your head as I send you a secondary image of a more or less recent image of Dr. Voodoo. There we go. Now take a look at this image that I was talking about of Brother Voodoo. Knowing the physicality this man has, he could pull this off.
Yeah. It's a good fit.
But that's only a guess. Don't know dick about what they're actually doing. Hopefully it's a good guess anyway. Further in Marvel media news, Disney had an expo in Japan recently where they showed off some new toys.
Uh-huh.
And they included a couple of interesting tidbits in there that makes this Marvel-worthy. Most notably, there's already toys of Marvel Legends that are in the works for the Age of Ultron film. Not terribly surprising, but the Legends are the very large, like 6-inch toys.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at them, you can get a pretty good look as to what the characters for Age of Ultron are going to look like. Looks like Hulk's sporting some bicycle pants there.
Yeah.
I guess so they don't have to dodge around the issues of why we're not seeing his junk when he changes.
I know a lot of people that would like to see Hulk junk on the movie screen.
I don't think I feel the need to see a floppy green penis.
If I knew that was coming, I would certainly not see that movie in 3D. But the other image we got from the expo was this one of a less posable but very intimidating-looking Hulkbuster armor. That looks like a walking bus.
Well, when you had to fight the Hulk with it, so...
I know, but it looked like it could transform into a car of some
I was
sort.
just about to say, it looks like a transformer.
Yeah. There's all kinds of other minor stuff, most of it's Star Wars based, but I won't get into that here. There's been some news this week about Brian Michael Bendis. He's been the guy that reinvigorated the Avengers franchise. He's been working on the X-Men franchise to mixed reviews. And some people decided to dig in his mind about what he would do if he was in control of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's made it pretty clear that one of the big things on his list would be a Jean Grey movie.
Ooh, like a Phoenix movie or just strictly Jean Grey?
Therein lies the question, because as he pointed out, the character is very powerful and has such a long and not convoluted but storied history in Marvel Comics. There's all kinds of places you could go with that.
Mm-hmm.
The Fox X-Men movies, while Jean Grey's been a feature in some of them, not exactly been their strongest character in those movies.
No.
You know, they tend to focus a lot more on Hugh Jackman and his abs.
Yeah, they could have written a lot more better things for her. Although I thought Famke Janssen did a good job, but
She did a good job with what she was given, but I guess that's the problem of when you have probably a mid-30s character trying to mix it up with a bunch of younger kids on the screen all the time.
Yeah.
You're not going to look like the spring chicken in the crew, especially as Hugh Jackman just kind of, forgive the pun, tore the movies a new one and really made them all his own.
Yeah. Well, it's just because Hugh Jackman is so freaking magnetic.
Well, he's very forceful in that role. He takes over the scene.
Yeah.
Like everyone. And I'm not saying that he did anything wrong. He took it over.
I agree.
Further down the rolls of Marvel movie and TV news, did you guys see the new trailer for Daredevil?
No.
They've released a full trailer for the Netflix series coming out this April. I take it I don't need to ask.
Link.
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. God, this is getting more dangerous. There it is. That's how it starts with that Netflix logo, as if to say, "We got you now, fuckers."
Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been too long since my last confession.
This series is going to have a lot to overcome, considering what Ben Affleck did to him.
I've been preoccupied of late with questions of morality.
How deep is the internet's memory?
Good and evil.
For stuff it doesn't like, it's damn near eternal.
Yeah, but that was also years ago, and there's lots of people that haven't seen that movie. Especially younger people.
Yeah, hopefully because they have the right people to guide them away from it.
I'm not seeking forgiveness for what I've done, Father.
This is very dark compared to the other Marvel projects.
For what I'm about to do.
I enjoy that.
Almost foreboding.
Darkness is good.
It also looked like they're kind of underplaying the radar sense as to how important it is. They're not going with anything highly visual like they did in the movie.
I don't think they could afford to.
Probably not.
Depends on how well this does. If this group of series does well, they'll be able to afford a lot.
I like it.
It's got a lot of possibility there. I'm not going to say it's an instant hit, but it's on the right path. It's definitely on the right path, and that's not the only thing they're working on. Of course, we know that that's part of a group of miniseries leading up to the Defenders, and they've already started filming AKA Jessica Jones in the last week. There's already images that have surfaced of Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. And you really wouldn't know this is a superhero project to look at what's been shot already. I'll send you just one as an example. This is an image of Kristen Ritter in costume as Jessica Jones. And that's all it is, a woman in a coat. For people who are unaware, the story of Jessica Jones is a little bit tragic because she had a very short superheroing career until the point where she was forcibly raped by one of her arch nemesis and then retired from superheroics. She spent the rest of her time as a private investigator or kind of as a plainclothes superhero. She never really dealt with spandex very much. So this would be very much in line with the second part of Jessica Jones' life, I assume. But the series is going to have some major talent behind it. I think you guys didn't hear about who else has been cast besides Mike Coulter as Luke Cage?
No.
Robin Taylor is going as Trish Patsy Walker, who's also known as Hellcat. Carrie Ann Moss was signed just this last week in an unconfirmed role.
Huh.
But probably the biggest news came out about a week ago. The character who ended up sexually abusing Jessica Jones is a guy named Kilgrave. He was known as the Purple Man.
Oh boy.
That has been cast by David Tennant.
Really? Oh, that's
I kid you not,
interesting.
the announcement was made last week.
I mean, I know nothing about these characters, but just based on
He's
what you
purple head
described.
to toe.
Okay.
He's literally known as the Purple Man.
Is his skin purple?
Yes.
Hair,
Okay.
eyes, everything.
I don't know if that's going to
Okay.
carry over to the series necessarily, but yeah, he's going to play Kilgrave. So, Christian Ritter is going to get raped by a doctor. I know it sounds glib, but that's literally the truth. Or figuratively the truth. I need to stop over-using literally like people do. We have one of those things we discussed last week, but it's another video. The iZombie trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the CW's DC properties is coming out. In case you haven't noticed, we moved into DC Media News. I sent you guys the link.
My name is Liv. I used to be passionate, inspired.
This series doesn't look like it's going to be near as special effect heavy as Arrow and Flash is.
So there's that.
It is going to abuse makeup quite a bit, though.
As day jobs go, this one was pretty
I
great.
still think this looks really fun. I loved Veronica
It's one of those-
Mars, too.
Well, it does look like a show that's going to do much better than its concept.
I've been terrified about
There are some shows that just by concept sound awful. It's like, Breaking Bad as Sons of Anarchy sounded awful when I heard about them. But as soon as they're executed, though, they turned out much better than I could have imagined.
I think this is a really unique concept.
She was arrested in 2000.
It is.
This might be the first zombie thing I watch.
Psychic.
Ish.
Maybe.
Never seen Shaun of the Dead?
Yep.
Can't refuse to
I actually
get
have seen that.
I can't tell the people I
Did
love
you
what's
like
going
it?
on with
So this would be the second.
Oh yeah, I thought it was funny as hell.
Find justice.
I like that it's not really obvious that she's dead.
I saw you get shot.
He missed.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, when we read about it earlier, everyone saw that her hair turned pale blonde, her skin went pale, she had dark circles, and they just thought she was going through a goth phase.
I thought I was the only one.
Till like 3 seconds ago, so did I.
As long as it doesn't get teen angsty like Arrow does, I think I can get behind this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it even if it did, so.
I know you wouldn't. Let's see. We've heard that the Suicide Squad has already had some issues as Tom Hardy left the role of Rick Flag, citing scheduling problems. Well, DC and Warner Brothers moved on to their second choice to play the role, Jake Gyllenhaal, who apparently took a look at the script and said, no, I don't want to do this. So that means, as far as I know, the role of Rick Flag is still empty unless they manage to fill it with somebody that the rags don't think is important enough to talk about. This could be a serious problem. I think filming on this is supposed to begin later this year.
Isn't this a film that has Will Smith on it?
It does.
Yes.
That could be a problem.
Wow.
Well, I mean, just recently I've been reading stuff about how he's difficult to work with, so.
Wouldn't that be the story, though, if Tom Hardy looked at this role and said, no, you've diminished it, and I have scheduling problems. Fuck you, I'm gone. Then Jake Gyllenhaal reads the script and says, oh my god, Will Smith is on it. Fuck you, I'm gone.
Well,
No, but filming's supposed to start in April, so they need to get somebody needs to get in that role now, because assuming that it's somebody that doesn't already have a very physical presence, he's going to have to get to the gym in a hurry if he accepts the role. He only has about a month and a half to get ready. So this could be a serious issue. There are some people posting who said maybe Bruce Willis should be Rick Flag. It's like, God, no. You put him and Will Smith into the same movie project, it's almost like a contest to see who's the bigger prick.
I argue that that Bruce Willis is not a very good actor. He plays the same character in practically everything.
Maybe that could be argued why he's a great actor, because you know exactly what you're getting.
Okay,
You know, half-ass bullshit every time you hire him.
fair.
But let me see. DC does have some other properties that have had some positive things to report. It's no secret that we on the show are not fans of Gotham. It's not really moving at a pace that I think is very conductive to storytelling. However, it has been announced that Milo Ventimiglia is joining the cast for a villainous role.
Interesting.
The guy who played Peter on Heroes, he's going to be cast as Jason Lennon, a.k.a. the
I might
Ogre.
watch it just for that.
It doesn't say when he's going to be appearing on the show. It only specifies that the Ogre in this series is not the same one that already exists in DC Comics.
There's an ogre?
He's going to be
DC?
Yeah. But the one Ventimiglia is playing is going to be a serial killer who's been in Gotham for about a decade. Most of his victims are young women who he tests so he can find the perfect mate.
Interesting.
Huh.
I have to admit, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around him being a serial killer.
Considering how often Peter went through women in the TV show, it's not that hard to believe.
He's, pretty.
All of a sudden, people are going to scream at you about Christian Bale and American Psycho and stuff.
I could also... Okay, now I'm distracted.
Not every serial killer looks like Buffalo Bob.
Maybe not.
Well, the Nerdist is reporting that they have a draft of the pilot to the Titans TV show for TNT. And they say that from that, they've been able to discern what cast of characters they're going to use for it.
All right.
According to the Nerdist, it's going to be Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Hawk, Dove, and a handicapped Barbara Gordon.
There's a lot of birds in this.
It does seem to primarily be birds of prey.
Wait, that was an actual thing, not just a TV thing?
Yeah, there was a comic called Birds of Prey.
And there was a TV show.
Yeah,
It's Hawk and Dove. Lady Blackhawk. There was a comic. But it is interesting that for this show, they've apparently gone back to Barbara Gordon as Oracle.
Interesting.
It's not a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But the character of Oracle may be one of those things that comes across better on the page. It is going to be harder to explain how this woman in a wheelchair is kicking the butt of so many people on TV. Possible, but hard. And if she does a backflip in the chair, I'm out. I wouldn't be able to follow that for a damn...
How would you even...
But
that doesn't compute.
Somebody would try. But DC has moved forward with casting Supergirl for their CBS show. Melissa Benoist has been cast in the upcoming role. Benoist has been a regular on Glee in prior seasons. And they've already gone as far as to name the first villain that Supergirl will run across in the series. I almost want to sing as I say that the first villain will be Lumberjack.
What?
Lumberjack. I had to look this one up myself. Lumberjack is a villain that showed up only once in a 1980s Wonder Woman comic, number 268 by Jerry Conway. It was a one-off character that supposedly fought Superman before it fought Wonder Woman.
Okay.
TV Line says that the casting call for Lumberjack is naming Game of Thrones actor Rory McCann as what they're aiming for, not what they have.
Oh.
They want their character to be a, quote, big burly monster of a man who has battled Kara's cousin in the past. Oh, he is a lumberjack and he's okay.
Sleeps all night and he works all day.
Gets his ass kicked by girls. They're finally going to deal head-on in The Flash with the problem of the nuclear man. There is a trailer out already for the upcoming story arc, which I believe begins this Tuesday. Z, I think, would like to see this because it's the Arrow's brother playing Firestorm.
Yep.
And he's shirtless a lot in it.
Wait, Arrow has a brother?
Yeah, the brother of the actor who plays Arrow, Oliver Queen, the
Right.
Green Arrow, he's the one who's playing Firestorm on The Flash.
Okay, so not the actor's brother, not the character.
Yeah. The actor's literal genetic brother.
Yes, I would be interested in this.
Well, there you go. Drool to your heart's content.
I have these memories that I know aren't my own.
There he is, being broody homeless guy.
That's where Ronnie proposed to me.
Hello.
Professor Stein!
Oh, that didn't take long.
Martin Stein and Ronnie Raymond share a body.
Ronnie. Not Ronnie.
Yeah, he is shirtless a lot. I am enjoying this.
Separate the two of them could be cast off. He could get nuclear.
Barry, get out of there.
She's busy staring at nipples.
Central on the CW.
That's why she goes to watch superhero
Look like
movies.
According to what I'm seeing, though, it's a very different take on Firestorm. The melding of minds thing is different. Usually it's one person in charge or the other, but in this case, the dialogue seems to indicate that Professor Stein's in the lead with lots of Ronnie's memories, jumbled in there somehow. I'm guessing he's going to be a series regular pretty soon.
Yeah.
As we were talking about Arrow, the Brandon Ruth has been playing Ray Palmer through the series for quite a while. DC Comics fans would know him very well as the Atom. And in the series, he's been developing an exosuit that's supposed to help him save the city. Apparently, according to Newsarama, we have a first look as to what that suit's going to look like.
Show.
Okay. It's not the blue and red spandex that you're used to thinking of when you think of the Atom, that's for sure.
This is a bit odd.
I like it.
It's not very sleek. It looks like he's getting ready to play rollerball.
Yeah, but it looks like it's going to protect him.
I know. I guess my opinion on this would be, as far as a different type of character from the Arrow on the show, this is the right path, but I don't know if it's the right stop. I think you're on the road to something really good here, but it feels like they may have stopped a little too early in the design phase. Maybe this isn't the final product. Maybe this is supposed to be a prototype. I worry a bit about the exposed cords. It's a little too easy to break.
Yeah, that could be an issue. Those cords look like they might be made of something extreme, like, I don't know, graphene or something.
It could be. I'm just thinking out loud here. Like I said, I think they're on the road to something really cool. I just don't know if this is the final version or the prototype version. It'll get slimmed down later.
Yeah, I could see like some sort of a carapace thing put over it, like, you know, to hide all the wires and stuff.
That could be. But that's not the only Arrow news we have. Actor David Ramsey, he plays John Diggle on Arrow, the large black bodyguard.
Yep.
Ramsey said that there have been discussions between Mark Guggenheim, Greg Berlanti, and Andrew Kreisberg about the possibility of Ramsey playing Jon Stewart on Arrow instead.
What?
Wait, changing characters?
Maybe revealing characters. Jon Stewart is the Black Green Lantern in DC Comics.
Yeah. Oh.
It could be that I don't know how they're planning on working in. And he only says that they're, quote, working on some stuff. He said, if that's the case, it's going to be huge. This is the stuff they want to avoid. I think they don't want anybody to know yet, and they haven't even told me. They've told me that they're thinking about it, and they're considering it. Greg Berlanti told me that. Andrew Kreisberg and Mark Guggenheim have told me that. I haven't spoken to Jeff Johns about it yet, but that's the word from the people directly involved in Arrow, that they're thinking on something. Unquote. Considering the role of Diggle's character on the show, it wouldn't be too hard to presume that he's been working under a false name as a former super spy.
Yeah.
Or as a former member of Argus on the show.
Yeah.
And Jon Stewart in the comics does have a history as a soldier prior to being a Green Lantern, so this wouldn't be too bad of a stretch, really.
Isn't he, but Marine, shit, what do you call it?
You mean Marine Force Recon?
No. Yeah, he was a part of their engineering division.
Who?
Jon Stewart. He actually built shit.
No, I think he still works on The Daily Show. I think I lost him. I really don't know much about Jon Stewart's history other than him being the first Black Green Lantern, and that was only because of the animated series, frankly. The comics that I've read in between didn't do a whole lot as far as digging into his history, so I don't have a lot of ready knowledge on him. But the addition of Green Lantern to the show could be very interesting. I suppose I would start to wonder, between Arsenal, Black Canary, and a potential Green Lantern, how much room would there be for Green Arrow in this series? It's a question I have, anyway. Last bit of DC media news I have. NBC doesn't seem to be behind Constantine on its network. It is just not garnering the ratings it's getting. I thought that meant it was a surefire cancellation, but there is word going around now via ScreenRant.com that NBC is considering changing the name of the series to Hellblazer and moving it to the Sci-Fi Network. The advantages to them doing that is that cable network shows, as far as televised network shows, do not have as big of expectations when it comes to ratings. And being a cable station, that means they can play around a bit with the format and make it much darker and gorier if they need to.
Wait, so is this a show that's currently existing and they're changing it?
Yep.
Constantine?
Okay, I guess I wasn't sure if it had come out yet.
Oh, Constantine is like 12 episodes deep now. It has been struggling as far as ratings, probably for a few reasons. One, it's a British hero when there's already like several versions of Sherlock Holmes out there. Secondly, they put it at the 9 p.m. slot on Fridays,
Ew.
which is one of the same reasons that Firefly had a very early exit from television screens. They thought they had a surefire follow-up to Grimm, but it turns out that Grimm, compared to Constantine, one is a very light, kind of bubbly gothic horror. The other one is more of a dark, brooding type thing, and it's not really keeping the same audience.
Right. I can imagine. I tried one episode of Grimm and didn't hook me.
It had me for a good 3 seasons. I've fallen out of it just because there's other stuff coming up that's more to my taste. As a stopgap in between shows, worked okay for me.
Fair enough.
We'll go on to general media news, where we talk about news that doesn't fall into Marvel and DC's buckets there. It's been revealed as to what kind of special Game of Thrones episode is coming on HBO. There's going to be a half-hour documentary coming called A Day in the Life, where they basically go through some of the filming locations of Season 5 as they're working. This includes Belfast, Northern Ireland, Dubrovnik, Croatia, Sevilla, and Osuna, Spain. This is supposed to air Sunday, February 8th, this Sunday on HBO.
Nice. If only I had HBO.
I enjoy Game of Thrones immensely, but if only because it makes me think of Peter Dinklage as something other than a talented short actor. He comes across as just a talented actor in this show.
Yeah. I love the series. I've read the books more than once. I've listened to the audiobooks. I've read the other books in the series. And
I think great, shocking storytelling.
Great, yeah. It's pretty... I love the fact that people actually die. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in fantasy in general, is people die and the heroes don't frickin'...
Well, technically, people stay more dead in the TV show than they do in the books. We're not dealing with Lady Stoneheart in the show.
Although supposedly she's credited as Hooded Woman for episode 10 of season 5, so...
That wouldn't surprise me, but she said very specifically that the Lady Stoneheart storyline was not occurring.
I wouldn't be too worried about that.
They may have just let her back on the set so she could hang around for a little bit.
Maybe.
Zachary Levi is going to headline the new Heroes Reborn series coming to NBC. Zachary Levi played Chuck. He was also in Thor: The Dark World, and he's been cast in a key but unnamed role in a 13-episode miniseries, Heroes Reborn. It astounds me that Heroes Reborn was moved from the potential Xbox Live networks and some kind of online distribution over to NBC's main network. I wonder what they saw that I didn't find out about.
I'm kind of worried about that, to be honest. I would rather something be online or,
I'm with you as that, because Heroes, when it first came out, was back when there weren't many comic book properties or comic book-like properties on TV, period. Now it's going to end up sandwiched between, Gotham, The Flash, The Arrow, this new X-Men series they're working on, all this other stuff.
Right. It
may not be enough anymore.
Well, hopefully they can bring it.
Yeah. Jason David Frank says that the Power Rangers reboot is going to shoot this year, but he says there's no movie without me. Jason David Frank played the first Green Ranger in American Power Rangers TV shows. He says, quote, "We're definitely not in a holding pattern. The movie is definitely set for this year. Everything is in place. They won't give me specific details because it's all hush-hush. Even me, I try. I email Saban and ask him what you're asking me, but they do feel that I'm going to be part of it because they feel there's no movie, at least, without me. The funny thing is, one way or another, whether it happens or it doesn't, I've been great to Lionsgate and they've been loyal to Saban. It's not like they owe me, but if I want to ask for a personal favor, I've invested into their emotional bank account. I feel like it's fair to have that withdrawal with them because I've done nothing but support them for the last 10 years. 20 years, in fact. So when that happens, I don't need to cash in any favors. I believe it's going to happen anyway. But when it does, I'll keep my fans involved. But I will tell you, it's being filmed this year. I know that for a fact. It's going to be great when it is," unquote. I can appreciate that a cameo by this man or a role of some sort in a Power Rangers reboot movie would probably be a pretty big deal. Half that statement, though, basically all I heard while reading it was me.
Yeah, I heard that
Yeah.
too.
Me. You know, and I've heard he's an MMA fighter. He's a busy guy. He's a legitimate guy, you know, and that's cool and everything. But there was way too much of him in that
Yeah.
statement.
I don't even know who you're talking about. There's still too much him.
I could play you shitty videos, but they probably wouldn't mean dick to you. The Star Trek movie franchise has hit a little bit of a rough patch. And I don't mean as far as quality. I mean, J.J. Abrams is off redesigning Star Wars. Roberto Orsay was director for 2 months before he suddenly stepped down. I think Justice Lin is now helming the third Star Trek movie. He's the director of Fast and Furious. But maybe there's a little something to get it back on track. We've learned that co-writing Star Trek 3 is Simon
Oh,
Pegg.
hell yeah.
So excited for that.
He's co-writing it with Doug Young. No word as to what possible insight he has into it, except that Pegg has also co-written several of his own movies. He co-wrote Shaun of the Dead, World's End, and Hot Fuzz. So there's probably going to be a lot of nerdy references throughout this movie.
That is totally okay. And Simon Pegg's a huge Star Trek fan, so...
Oh yeah. Well, Doug Young is actually not. He's no spring chicken himself. He's the creator of a short-lived TNT series, Dark Blue. He's also written episodes of Big Love and Banshee. So they're both. I don't know about great writers, but at least storied writers. They've been around for a little bit.
I feel positive about this.
Well, if it's going to be the last movie in a trilogy, it sounds like a good way to go out. Who knows if we'll get 6 to 10 out of it like the originals did.
Probably not.
DreamWorks, unfortunately, has cut about 500 jobs from their animation studios. They're reducing their film output from 3 animated features a year down to 2. The studio is known for a few hits like Shrek and the Madagascar series, but recently it's struggled in the box office. They've also done the How to Train Your Dragons movies. They've also done several things that have not done terribly well recently. I don't know the list of films. My favorite that they put out was Kung Fu Panda. I thought that was immensely entertaining.
I misjudged that horribly.
I've actually seen it.
When I first heard the title name, I said, nope, not watching it. I heard Jack Black was doing I was like, nope, not watching it.
I think I'm the one who came to your house and made people sit down and watch it.
Yeah. Something. I watched it, I was like, why didn't I watch this in theaters?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it, and I enjoyed it, and I wasn't really expecting to either.
Let's see, I have a list of DreamWorks animated films. Ants, The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, Chicken Run, Shrek, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, Sinbad, Shrek 2, Shark Tale, Madagascar, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Over the Hedge, Flushed Away, Shrek the Third, B-Movie, Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar 2, Monsters and Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek Forever After, Megamind, Kung Fu Panda 2, Puss in Boots, Madagascar 3, Rise of the Guardians, The Croods, Turbo, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and Penguins of Madagascar. As I read that list, almost as often as I smiled, I frowned through it.
Ants is great.
They have a list of upcoming films over the next 3 years on this list, too. Next up is Home, then Kung Fu Panda 3.
Finally?
I know, I didn't even know there was one. Trolls, Boss Baby, The Croods 2, Captain Underpants, Larkins, and How to Train Your Dragon 3.
I didn't know.
I wonder what this one is going to be about. The next Kung Fu Panda is going to be executive produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Really?
What?
It says executive produced, which means he's working signing stuff. I don't think he's directing it. It's going to be directed by Jennifer Yu Nelson. Okay, you've got my interest all of a sudden. The only way to make me happy, though, would be to bring back the character of Tai Lung. I thought there was untold potential in that character. God, he was voiced by Ian McShane, and he scares me.
Why?
There's something about his voice, even when he's trying to be friendly, it sounds fucking menacing. Let's see. George R.R. Martin is some of his other fantasy stories are getting movies of their own.
Oh.
R.R. Martin has a series of fantasy shorts called In the Lost Lands. Mila Jovovich is actually in talks to star as a female-centric fantasy adventure, and it's going to be directed by Konstantin Werner of Germany. Let me see. From the official description, here are the 3 stories that are going to be pulled together to make a movie. In one thread, the desperate queen of a city built into a towering mountain hires the sorceress Grey Alice, as Jovovich, to travel into the ghostly wasteland to collect the lost lands. Or into the ghostly wasteland called the Lost Lands, to obtain the gift of shape-shifting into a werewolf, but she doesn't realize that the fulfillment of her wish will come at a terrible price. Meanwhile, warrior girl Shara must fight a dragon that serves as a gatekeeper of the 7 worlds to reunite with her lost lover Kadar. During this quest, she meets the mysterious lord of a deserted castle, Lauren Dor, who seduces her so completely that she forgets her quest and stays with him, unaware that he is the real gatekeeper. And in the futuristic tale Bitter Blooms, a young barbarian girl gets spellbound by a lonely witch in a spacecraft who shows her beauty and love, which turns out to be a net of lies and deceit.
Interesting. I'm intrigued.
That has my interest. It's just, for some reason, I'm reading about these 3 stories about these strong, independent female characters, and all I can hear is some ultra-feminist screaming why there has to be men in this movie at all.
Yeah.
It's turning into a very tired, beat of the drum to me. And I know it's a bit of a tangent. It just, I understand the need for more women in media. It's cool and it's very necessary. What I don't understand is when people say, we don't need men at all in these things.
That's stupid.
Wait, that's not equality. That's inverted
right,
sexism.
like when you create all female groups just for the sake of including more women or something. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Our photographer, Alex, he got invited to something that was a game get-together. A bunch of gamers are supposed to get together. He said, cool. So he sent an email asking about it. They told him he couldn't go because this is a female game event, and the only males allowed have to be accompanied by a woman.
That's stupid.
What?
It's so stupid.
Doesn't that kind of narrow the possibilities of your attendance all of a sudden?
I personally prefer the company of men to other women for the most part, so...
And we don't smell as nice, but at least you know where you are with us. When we're drooling, we're horny. When we're vapid, we're fine. When women drool, we have no idea what that means. Usually brain death, but that's a whole different problem. The next Disney Star Wars film has reportedly found its lead actress. The actress of Felicity Jones from The Theory of Everything has been cast in the lead role of an upcoming standalone Star Wars movie being directed by Gareth Edwards.
Okay.
That's all we have. We don't have any news as to what her role is, what the character is, what the plot is, or even the title of the goddamn movie. But it's got to be released December 16th of next year.
Okay.
Please tell me this is going to be good, at least. If I find out, not too long from now that she's been cast in the role of Jar Jar Binks, I might actually kill myself.
I know some people liked that character, but I just can't even... Ugh.
I am indifferent to the character.
I wish I were indifferent to the character.
There's a story on IO9 by Charlie Jane Anders that's going to be very important to V. There's a book that came out that supposedly tells the truth about what went wrong with the 3rd season of the original Star Trek series.
Ooh!
She's already had 2 other books in regards to the making of the show. This 3rd one is about the end of the show. It didn't last beyond the 3rd season. According to the book, the real villain behind it all was Jerry Lewis, the comedian.
What?
Really?
How is he even... Okay, I need to know details.
Well, okay, according to the story, and I'm going to read it verbatim here, quote, actually, comedy in general hurt Trek. The show lost its planned Monday 8 p.m. time slot because the network wanted to keep the popular laugh in at the time. But in November 1968, NBC was having second thoughts about burying Star Trek on Friday nights at 10 p.m., when few young people could watch it. And the show was also not shown on a number of NBC stations, which chose to show the Grand Ole Opry on Friday nights instead. And then there was the alternative. NBC was showing the Jerry Lewis show on Tuesday in the early evening, and Lewis's show was a ratings disaster. So NBC decided to swap the 2 shows around, giving Trek a prime early evening slot and burying Lewis on Friday nights. But Jerry Lewis and his agents and William Morris went into what Variety called a frenzy at the time, and they managed to invoke a contractual clause that would cost NBC a lot of money if the show was moved, by forcing NBC to buy them out. NBC wasn't willing to spend that much money to pay off Jerry Lewis, so it kept the show in its prime slot and kept Star Trek in its terrible position. It also goes into the declining quality of the show's third season. Something about seeing how sausage is made?
Spock's brain?
Well, we'll go past the quality. That probably had to do with budgetary and ratings problems. Under seeing how sausage is made, what's fascinating and somewhat depressing is just how many of the mediocre to terrible stories in Star Trek's third year started out as brilliant story ideas. Or at the very least, stories that everybody involved thought were going to be great. Spock's Brain was envisioned as a serious look at the hot-button topic of organ transplantation, for example, albeit one laced with humor. In the end, the humor got cut, and the serious stuff became unintentionally funny. By reading this book, you can actually see the stories get worse, and everybody who was excited about them become more and more depressed as they go through rewrites and network notes. See above for the sad story of And the Children Shall Lead. It's also fascinating about the development of the Enterprise incident, in which writer Dorothy Fontana had a huge falling out with the new production team. Freiberger had dropped Spock's father, Sarek, from the script and changed the Romulan commander to a woman, and it was Freiberger and Arthur Singer who decided to add Spock romancing the Romulan, although Singer wrote it as a scene where Spock says, "I adore you," before raining kisses on every square inch of her shoulder. Shoulder? Is that how you respond to him when you tell him I love you? I love you, and your scapula, too! Fontana fired back an incensed memo saying, "We have established Vulcans do not nuzzle, kiss, hug, or display any other form of human affection. The commander had jolly well be suspicious if Spock starts slobbering all over her." Nimoy also wrote directly to Gene Roddenberry complaining about Spock's over-sex behavior. Also, the Enterprise incident script lost several scenes that explained just why people were able to beam from Enterprise to the Romulan ship and back when their shields were supposed to be up. Which is the other interesting thing that comes through in this book. Nimoy was zealous about the integrity of Spock, and frequently butted heads with the new producers over how the character was portrayed. But as James Doohan put it, William Shatner himself out there to make the show better and shoot down some of the sillier ideas in general. Leonard was more interested in protecting the character of Spock. I think Bill was more interested in the series, unquote.
That makes sense.
In the end, the only person who really believed in his heart that Star Trek would get a fourth season was James Doohan. He couldn't accept that such a smart, well-done show would be pulled off the air, unquote. Huh. So it sounds like the backbiting that we've gotten used to in today's internet is what eventually did in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's been backbiting throughout media history for forever, so...
Yeah, it's just been more kind of brought to the surface in the last 10 years than I think it ever has been prior. Usually, you just kind of assumed either nobody was into your show or it was just that terrible. Now we actually know that some good shows can get tanked just because people can't agree on how to present it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this kind of fits into the same vein, because we made a joke a while ago that we don't really care about Star Wars Episode 7. We want to know when Spaceballs 2 is coming. Believe it or not, Mel Brooks himself has chimed in on that.
There's...
A Redditor called Call Me Obadiah heard Brooks discussing the possibility of a Spaceballs sequel on Adam Carolla's Take a Knee podcast. Here's the exact quote. "If I did a movie that came out right after Star Wars comes out, maybe a couple months later, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, they have a big weekend, no matter what, even if it fell on its ass and, I didn't get that money back. But that first weekend, the anticipation of seeing Spaceballs 2 would, I'd still have Daphne Zuniga and I still have Rick Moranis, if he'd do it, and I've still got me," unquote.
Interesting.
You know what? Fuck your Star Wars. I want my Spaceballs. It can be a half-ass movie, and I would be in. I would just be in. Does anyone want to loan me about $75,000?
Not me.
Damn it. I need to find a sugar daddy. There's Disneyland artifact about to be auctioned off in Los Angeles.
Artifacts?
Artifacts?
Yeah, starting this past Friday, February 7th, Van Eaton Galleries in Sherman Oaks, California is hosting the Story of Disneyland collection and auction. They're going to have over 1,000 exhibits and auction items that date all the way back to 1955. Whoa. Original Jungle Cruise attraction posters, Disneyland tickets back when there used to be E, D, C, B, and A levels. Original animatronic birds from the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Wow.
A miniature potbelly stove painted by Walt Disney himself, estimated between $15,000 and $20,000. The cigar store Indian that stood in front of Frontiersland. One of the skeletons from Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the original featured skeletons.
Nice.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff here that, frankly, I'm not a big Disney person, but some of this stuff is enough into my history and my my field of nerddom. I would like to have one of these pieces, frankly.
Disney's done a lot of stuff, and some of it I really like, so yeah.
It's not even the case of Disney owns Marvel now, so I must bow to the mouse. I remember being 3 years old and being scared to death on Pirates of the Caribbean. I'd like to own one of those. Yes, I was scared on Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not so much a pussy, I can't admit it.
Wait, Pirates... When you were 3? What?
Yes, when I was 3, I wrote on Pirates of the Caribbean with my phone.
Oh, right. It was okay. Ignore me.
Well, I mean, think about it from my perspective. I'm 3 years old, right? You know, barely able to tie my shoes. You're putting me on a boat that drops about 2 stories in a pitch black hole.
No, I get it. I just forgot that Pirates of the Caribbean was a ride before a movie.
Oh, okay. Dealing with history problems. From there, we can bounce into Marvel Comics news. We talk about the items that are going to affect the comics we actually like to read. First off is the supposed news that the Marvel Universe is ending. Marvel has released several teasers that say the upcoming Secret Wars is going to end the Marvel Universe as we know it. That's caused Newsarama to go into a frenzy and proclaim that a reboot is happening. I'm still not convinced this is a reboot. It could be a realignment of the comics. I don't think they're going to ditch all that history yet because we've seen how that's worked for DC. It's not been great.
Yeah.
You know, and for people who are going to email me, stop. It's not DC hate. It's just the idea behind the New 52 is supposed to be reinvigorating these heroes and retelling stories.
Except we brought them right back to where they're at.
Exactly. They rehashed them to the point where nothing really changed after the reboot except for the look of several characters. I mean, a realignment of characters in Marvel would not be a bad thing. Maybe a simplification of the X-Men back to where there's one squad of them instead of 8. But just plain ditching all that history, while it might be somewhat cumbersome as far as storytelling, that history is what's helping make the stories, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So I really hope it's not the end of it. Stan Lee did weigh in when they announced the end of it, and he said, as far as a potential reboot, quote, "It's probably good. Anything they do that's unexpected and different usually captures the attention of the fans. People will want to follow it to see what happens and where it will lead. Marvel cannot keep doing the same stories over and over again. You always have to come up with new angles and new approaches to things. I think it's probably a good idea. Sounds intriguing to me," unquote. He has a point. You know, as long as you catch somebody off guard, you've done your job as a writer.
Yeah.
The problem is whether or not people will respect your catching them off guard as a writing tool or instead just decry you as ruining their childhood. I get so tired of that.
That phrase shouldn't even exist.
No. It's pretty childish.
You should stop watching Robot Chicken.
Well, Brian Michael Bendis is a guy who's largely... he's been largely called the guy who reinvigorated the Avengers, whether you agree or disagree, because he changed it from the inside out, that's for sure. It's been announced that his contract with Marvel has been re-upped. He's going to be an exclusive for them for the next few years at least. It's not a bad thing. He is stepping back a bit, though. He also announced that he's leaving the X-Men books as of Uncanny X-Men 600, which is going to be renumbered back to the original numbers just prior to Secret Wars. He may be dialing down his work in Marvel Comics down to 1 book simply because he's got his Powers comic book, he's got the Powers TV show coming out soon.
Mm.
And as much as I like his writing style, maybe it's a good thing that he focuses on 1 book for a little while. We've also found out that there's going to be 3 sort of subtitles to several series tied into the Secret Wars. Secret Wars Last Days, Secret Wars Battle World, and Secret Wars War Zones. I couldn't even guess what that means other than potentially that whatever's left in this battle world is probably going to end up fighting each other for a little while to see who comes out on top. At least it's not generic as a Secret Wars battle between good and evil. This seems more like factions that are kind of warring it out. And there's also another mini that's coming out, Secret Wars Journal.
Journal.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's going to deal with several C-list Marvel characters and bring them a spotlight for a little while. Like Misty Knight and Paladin, an X-Men story. They're even using the character of the Night Nurse in this series.
Okay.
The Night Nurse is a big C-list character who's been known to operate in Hell's clinic in Hell's Kitchen. She patches up like low-level superheroes like Daredevil. So, time will only tell if that's any good. Some of these offshoots can create new characters or new legends. Some of them, they end up in the quarter bin.
Did you say quarter bin?
The quarter bin, yeah, where you find 25-cent comic books because nobody will buy this shit. Marvel's also teased that after the Secret Wars, they're coming out with a brand new, all different Avengers. It's just those words on a black title. There's no hints as to what roster this is, what era it is, or what the hell is going on here. But it should be noted that the title of All New, All Different was also used when Giant Size X-Men #1 came out and kind of reinvigorated that franchise from a dying book. All New X-Men was the title given to characters like Storm and Nightcrawler and Wolverine. So it could be that something radically different is coming.
Well, that could be good.
And, yeah. Last bit of Marvel comic news I have is an interesting one because this was supposed to debut on The View, but something happened and they decided to just put it out online anyway. There's another Avengers book coming called A-Force. Which, I don't know why, but I don't like that name. Maybe it's because it sounds like Ass-Force or something. But A-Force is not just an X-Force ripoff book. It is an all-female roster of Avengers.
Yeah, this is...
I saw something about this.
No, what? I want to know.
I don't like the idea of an all-female group for the same reason we were discussing earlier. It's just... It seems like it's trying to go too far in the direction of feminism again.
I don't know about feminism per se, but I do think that traditional comic books do have problems with female readership. Not because of perceived sexism, but just because it's the pattern that we've had since the 60s of a lot of strong male characters. And the female characters, despite whatever powers they pack, tend to play second banana a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. It's something that recently has had more of a reversal. The female characters are showing up as extremely powerful counterparts to the male heroes in both Marvel and DC. But it's still one of those things where the comic book companies tend to get punched in the face every time there's somebody like, Captain America or Cyclops or, even fracking the Hulk, like front and center on comic books, and other characters are around them regardless of gender. Certain people get really pissed off about that for just old-fashioned reasons. And the roster they're promoting in this A-Force book is primarily Medusa, the Wasp, She-Hulk, a new character called Singularity, and the Scarlet Witch. All very powerful characters, but you gotta admit, when they end up on other team books, they're in the background a lot.
Yeah, I suppose.
The only new... sorry, go ahead.
At least, I personally, part of the thing that I like about watching things is character dynamics, and a good character dynamic is when characters are opposite genders, so...
It's one of those things that's unfortunately true. When you have a good original idea, the next good original idea you have is generally to take that character and put tits on it. When you think about characters like Hulk and She-Hulk, or then you go like Wolverine and X-23, a lot of the times your better female characters are anagrams of your male characters, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, I suppose. It's just one of those cases where this is going to please some people, it's probably going to irritate a few others. In the end, I don't care what gender a character is, as long as the stories are freaking good. True. The writing is going to make or break your characters. If the writing on a certain book sucks, it's not like the guy just hates women. It may just be he doesn't understand.
Or he had a bad day, or a bad year.
That could be too. That sudden story where Spider-Woman's on the rag and just starts kicking people in the face. Maybe he just had a bad day. We'll move into DC Comics from there. And, man, if I had to think of a time where you are potentially jumping... You are either jumping 18 buses on a motorcycle or you're jumping the shark, and this is one of those moments. Now that Batman is getting a superpower.
Which one is it again?
He's getting a
No,
superpower.
I mean, like, what power?
We don't know
Oh.
yet. I think that issue was supposed to come out this week. Justice League 38. Batman's been infected with a virus that before it kills people, it gives him superpowers. And the next question that I haven't answered yet is what power he's going to get. I mean, what do you think? Is that one of those things where it's a good reading tool, or do you think this is just do you think this is a bad writing idea?
I think it would be interesting, personally, but...
Yeah, I might think it would be interesting too, but at the same time, if I think it's interesting, it might be a bad idea.
It's definitely a new place Batman has not been before, and I like that idea. It's just, everyone credits Batman as being the smartest person basically in the DCU, so giving him a superpower you almost wonder if that's too much. I'm one of those people, for those that haven't listened to this show, I think your heroes should not be as strong as your villains. If there's no struggle, then there's really not an interesting book. It's why I don't read Superman in general. I think Superman is overpowered. Now you've got Batman, who regularly outmaneuvers just about everybody in the DCU, and now he has a superpower to go in his arsenal. Temporary or not, it's a risk moment.
Mm-hmm.
You either got new readers or you're killing me. So it's a curiosity, but Batman's not the only one that got a new trick. Superman has a new superpower.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well,
as of Superman 38, he's going to exhibit a new power called the Super Flare.
He needs more powers?
Which really is... I think you just vocalized what I thought as soon as I read the story, but this new power is called the Super Flare, which sounds like a wonderful, wonderful gay community move, frankly. But the idea is he will take all of the energy he's absorbed from the sun and expel it in one tremendous, explosive, destructive wave of energy. Or sphere of energy, depending on how you put it. But this one actually comes with an interesting weakness that can actually add to Superman's relatability. When he expels the super flare, he needs to recharge his batteries. In other words, he needs to get more sunlight. So for 24 hours after a super flare, he has no powers whatsoever.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but, they're going to think ahead and make him a solar collector suit that you just pop right into as soon as he does something like that.
I don't know if Batman can create a solar hypo spray, as you put it.
It's fucking Batman. He's done everything else.
I can't believe that's the argument. It's Batman, and it's a hard argument to unpeel because of how much people believe in Batman.
I know. I don't want to believe it either, but that's the BS DC is really known to do.
Well, to go with his power, Superman's getting a new costume and everything, which I'm not going to dig terribly into. But, it's the type of weakness that frankly can make Superman a little more believable of a character. And besides which, this may be the first new power that's stuck in quite a while. Somebody broke it down for me. Can you believe that all the powers we've gotten used to of staples of Superman, the latest one was from 1941, which was the heat vision. Everything else was created prior. That means this character has been this stodgy for that long. Now, the power levels keep increasing by the decade, but the base powers have been there for 60 fucking years.
Damn.
70 now, actually.
I still want to go back to he leaps tall buildings in a single bound.
And everybody looks up his cape. DC may have come up with a new story another new story that may actually be interesting for Superman. J. Michael Straczynski, the guy who put out the Rising Stars back in the early 2010s, or early 2000s, actually, I think. He's doing a new done-in-one graphic novel called Superman Earth 1, where he's going to answer the question, who blew up Krypton? In other words, he's writing a story where it sounds like what happened to Krypton wasn't some freak natural event. Somebody purposefully blew up the planet. That's a new place to go.
That's almost interesting.
It's a little confusing because the costume depicted in several supposed excerpts from Earth 1 shows Superman with red trunks, so this may be a pre-New 52 or post-Convergence story. I don't know which. It also doesn't say when it's going to come out necessarily. But might be worth a read. It is said that the Convergence is going to fix several things that happened in the pre-52 that were just kind of horrible, including fixing what happened to Roy Harper, the Arsenal, when he lost an arm and his daughter was killed.
Oh.
Supposedly, this will help walk that back some and bring Roy Harper back as a redeemable character. It's also going to feature the pre-52 versions of Starfire and Donna Troy. You know, that is really something that needs to be undone. As much as Arsenal was interesting in his days with the Outsiders, after that, when he lost an arm, he became kind of pathetic. And addicted to heroin. And I have a list of books, new books, brand new number ones coming out after DC's Convergence. And, you know, it won't surprise you that most of the books sticking around from the Convergence, most of them have to do with an S, a W, or a bat.
Yeah.
You know, very few of them. I think I only counted like 2 or 3 that won't have something to do with one of those characters directly. But the brand new number ones almost fall into the same line when you think between the lines here. I'm going to read them in order of alphabet. You have Batmite number 1. I'm not kidding. Batman Beyond number 1.
Ooh.
Black Canary number 1, which shows her, looks like leading a punk band. Bizarro number 1. Constantine the Hellblazer number 1. Cyborg number 1. Dark Universe number 1. Dr. Fate number 1. Doomed number 1. Earth 2 Society number 1. Green Lantern Lost Army number 1. The next one is an original idea, but I don't know how it's going to coexist. Harley Quinn and Power Girl number 1.
What?
What?
Somebody's going to have to
Wait,
die.
isn't Harley Quinn a villain?
She's been an anti-hero before.
Yeah, the way they're writing her, she's more like Deadpool than anything else, so she's more of an independent right now than hero or villain.
Oh, okay.
We also have Justice League 3001 number 1, supposed to be the future of the Justice League of America number 1, Martian Manhunter number 1, Midnighter number 1, so Wildstormer is getting his own.
Wow, yeah.
Mystic U number 1, Omega Men number 1, Prez number 1, I don't know what that is, Red Hood / Arsenal number 1, Robin, Son of Batman number 1, Section 8 number 1, Starfire number 1. The last one is a very curious title. We Are Robin number 1.
Okay.
It appears to be a bunch of young people emulating Robin in some form and being their own vigilante crew. Some of those are really interesting. Some of those I could really do without. We Are Robin actually sounds more interesting than I thought possible. Black Canary I like as a character. I'm not interested in another Justice League book of any form. Harley Quinn Power Girl has me curious enough to read it. Can't guarantee I'd buy it. Robin, Son of Batman, looks interesting only because it's Robin with a sword and he's leading some kind of demonic bat creature with wings around by a chain. I don't know if that's enough to get me to read.
No, pass.
Last bit of DC comic news I have does say that they're expecting to do some major changes and new direction for their comic book line after the conversion. They're using a lot of buzzwords in their taglines that include words like inclusive, contemporary, and accessible. According to their co-publisher, Dan Didio, quote, "In this new era of storytelling, story will trump continuity as we continue to empower creators to tell the best stories in the industry." Unquote.
Mm.
I don't know what I think about that sentence.
Story trumps continuity?
That's what he said.
That sounds like
quote.
a horrible idea.
That does sound like anybody's going to be able to write what they want regardless of what's happening in other books. Couldn't that create just kind of a mess?
Yeah.
Because as much as people are fans of individual series, the reason why you have continuity is the hope that you can drag them into other series with either cross stories or cross references. If everyone's just allowed to write whatever they want, goodness knows how these guys are going to develop. You could have 3 different versions of the same character by the books. I really hope he just misspoke.
Continuity is important, yeah.
Yes.
The list of comics that are staying around post-convergence: Action Comics, Aquaman, Batgirl, Batman, Detective Comics, Batman, Superman, Catwoman, Deathstroke, Flash, Gotham Academy, Gotham by Midnight, Grayson, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Harley Quinn, Justice League United, Lobo, Secret Six, Sinestro, New Suicide Squad, Superman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, and Wonder Woman. I almost feel like I should have had a counter for how often I had to mention a bat, a W, or an S when I read that off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really hope
it's not...
I'm just really hoping that that comment by Didio wasn't the whole story. I really hope that continuity does play a factor in storytelling. Because goodness knows, if you just take out continuity for good storytelling, what would the books of Fire and Ice look like?
Right?
That would be a goddamn mess.
But good storytelling is keeping with continuity. I don't understand their premise there.
I don't know. Dan Didio has long been not one of my favorite guys when it comes to comic book work. You know, I think he's one of the reasons why DC's heroes tend to move more towards the power than they do the character. But that's a personal opinion. All right, we'll push into general comic news, where we talk about comic book news that doesn't fall into Marvel and DC. First off, there's a lot of comic book retailers, as we've discussed, Convergence and Secret Wars, that are very wary of escalated events, but they are hopeful for upcoming success with new events. It appears that some retailers are very worried about event fatigue, like some people online complain. But even though events aren't the biggest successes lately, they do drive sales fairly well. Everyone's kind of hoping they get that moment where a new character is introduced or a new story is introduced. And as much as I'm not a fan of events myself, I do find myself reading them a lot. It's kind of hard for me to ignore when I think about, the last decade of Marvel storytelling with Avengers Disassembled through the Civil War, through the Secret Invasion, and, all the way through. They've created some really memorable
Especially
moments.
the Civil War.
Oh, God, yes. It's still one book I need to get.
Like, that's the only one that I was really aware of what was happening when it was happening. Like, people were talking about it.
Well, Marvel did some savvy marketing in there, and even news stories were being created about the Civil War when Spider-Man took off his mask.
Oh, yeah, that hit news.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
And the death of Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah, I still don't think those are as big as stories as the death of Superman, but they did succeed in at least undoing their stuff more slowly than DC did. As soon as Superman was dead, he was pretty much back alive.
Yeah, which is just lame.
Yeah. There is a report out that Comic-Con is being courted by Los Angeles and Anaheim to relocate. Their contract is up after next year in 2016. And both cities are very anxious to get their hands on an event that pretty much makes about $180 million for San Diego annually. LA's convention center technically has more convention space than the San Diego Convention Center. Problem is, LA's convention center space is split among two halls connected by a bridge. It's not exactly contiguous convention space. That's one reason why I think LA couldn't host it, especially since E3 is moving simply because they don't have contiguous convention space. The number two reason why is, I think Jesse can agree with this, with all the third-party stuff that goes on in San Diego at all the bars and open areas and small parks nearby, downtown Los Angeles has no place to host what would go on around.
Oh, yeah.
And the number three reason, and this is something I looked up, and it was talked about on Newsarama. Los Angeles has fewer than 5,000 hotel rooms within a mile of the convention center, which, with an additional 2,000 current rooms under construction in the area. San Diego has about 11,000 hotel rooms within walking distance of the convention center.
Yeah.
So even after the new hotel was built, they're still almost 40% lower in overall hotel space in San Diego. And as fast as those hotels fill up, that's very important. People don't have a place to stay, they can't go.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of people on Facebook, especially around the Anime Expo boards, that say that Comic-Con should move to Los Angeles for reasons from it do better in Los Angeles to it's more convenient to me in my drive, and both good reasons and bad reasons. But frankly, after going to Comic-Con the last couple of years, LA just couldn't handle it. It could barely handle Anime Expo, which at its height last year was 88,000 people. You're asking them to take a convention of 130,000 people and drop it into the same building.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No, when Anaheim would have a better shot, because they have contiguous convention space, and they're expanding. But a big draw of Comic-Con is also its panels. It has panels going on all goddamn day into about 8 o'clock at night. And while Anaheim could handle the convention space, the panel space I don't believe is there. Unless you took that new building they're making, which I don't think will be finished for a couple years, and make an entire panel space out of it, I still don't think you can replicate something like Hall H. The last section of the convention center is turned into just a gigantic panel room. In short, I think that San Diego is still the best West Coast location for the convention. There's places like New York that could probably handle it, but New York already has a Comic-Con.
Yep.
Las Vegas could handle it, but it's not exactly a family-friendly place to go.
Yep.
I've heard that there's a very big space in Arizona that can handle it, but as people who live there will tell you, it's fucking Arizona. No way. So I think San Diego's best bet is really to just lowball the bids. You know, give them a lowball bid to keep them there while you decide how to expand the convention center finally. I think that's the best route for the convention, too. San Diego officials actually do believe that they'll be able to extend Comic-Con's contract through 2018 fairly soon. It's something we're going to pay attention to, I guarantee that. I was excited to hear that Milestone Media is taking a second shot 20 years after its launch.
Really?
Yeah, Milestone Media was known way back when as a comic book company catering specifically to minorities. They had anagrams of several popular heroes like Superman and Iron Man and several others, but they were all cast by usually Asian and African American characters. One of their co-founders of Milestone, Dwayne McDuffie, recently passed away, unfortunately. But in the wake of that, the other original creators of Milestone Comics have gotten back together and they've reformed Milestone Comics into a new version. They actually plan on showing off artwork from upcoming Milestone Comics as soon as Comic-Con this year. So they look to revive the original Milestone characters and add new ones to the mix. I think that's interesting news. One thing I didn't expect to read this week. The Darkness is going to die.
What? Who? What now?
Okay, in the 1990s, there was one character that kind of epitomized 90s comic books called The Darkness from Image Comics. He created portals into this dark dimension where creatures came out of it. He could form the darkness into like these weird like tendrils with teeth. He could form into an armor around his body, and he was created kind of as an opposite number to another Image character Image Comics character called the Witchblade.
I've heard of the Witchblade.
You know, The Darkness turned out to be so popular, he had his own series, he made a couple video games, they were talking about a movie on and off. As of this week's Witchblade 180, Jackie Estacado, The Darkness himself, had his head cut off.
That's pretty extreme.
By the Witchblade. The mother of his child. So the character that kind of epitomized 90s comics is now dead.
Rest in peace.
As Newsarama called it, they kind of killed the 90s with this move. It turned out to be a manipulation by one of the Witchblade and Darkness's mutual villains into believing that Jackie had gone, kind of irreversibly evil and forced the Witchblade to do something about it. I won't say it's an unprecedented move. I mean, we've seen Superman and Captain America and Wolverine die. I just hope it's a permanent move. The endless cycle of resurrection in comic books can be a little tiresome.
Little?
Yeah.
Very tiresome, okay? I think Jean Grey has figured out how to install a revolving door into the white hot. Last bit of general comic news I have. I was a little surprised to find out that January comic book sales were led by one series and one series alone.
Which is?
Well, although technically now a Marvel comic, the highest-selling comic book of all of January was Star Wars #1.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't say what the overall percentage of those sales were, but it took a huge lead among other series. The other top sellers for January were Batman 38, Amazing Spider-Man 12, Amazing Spider-Man 13, Uncanny Avengers #1, Wolverine's #1, Ant-Man #1, Thor #4, Justice League 38, and The Walking Dead 136. It did kind of shock me to find out what kind of disparity there is between the unit sales, though. When it came to retailers, DC Comics actually owned 24.18% of the share, which is really strong compared to the next highest at 9.2% of Image Comics. It really did shock me, though, to find out that Marvel, however, had a 41.05% of market share.
Whoa.
Really? That's surprising?
It is. I mean, I'm a Marvel fan and everything, but as long as I've been following market sales figures, they've been pretty even. Marvel and DC are usually separated by no more than about 4%. I'm going to guess that if Marvel's doing this well, it's because of a combination of them now having the Star Wars license as well as just the movies in
Their
general.
movies are just better, in my opinion, for the most part.
Well, I think that the movies are drawing new readers to the comic books to try and find out what all this is about.
Yeah.
So, that's a guess. We will jump into anime and Japan news, where we talk about the fun news that comes from across the ocean, as well as some of the stuff that makes us wonder how in the hell this works. Something we talked about last week, but we got to rehash because of the technical issue, is the fact that there are statues in Japan now eating people. There are now statues at Universal Studios Japan of Attack on Titan.
Oh.
Yes, you can now pretend that you're being eaten by an oversized creature that sees you as a giant Snickers bar. I sent you guys a URL, one example.
Do I have to?
You don't have to. I
It's
think there are
more
nightmares
funny
like that.
than scary, at least in my opinion.
It's just weird. I mean, I look at that statue head. I don't know any form of human being that has that many teeth. The count there seems to be off.
Just a tad.
Yeah. Let alone the giant statues of Eren and the mystery Titan, the female Titan, fighting. I've seen it from several angles now. Neither of them has genitalia.
That's disturbing.
I'm going to assume that whatever makes Titans in this anime world, they're kind of grown from regular humans and mutated, because if they have no genitalia, goodness knows there's no Titan babies anywhere.
Or if there are, they're much creepier.
What do you think they shoot from their ass?
I don't know. You never know.
I don't want to know.
Pass.
This weekend also, Attack on Titan, I noticed, was not on Toonami's lineup. Instead, at the 12:30 slot, Kill la Kill debuted this week.
Really?
Yeah. The story of the young lady looking to avenge her father while wearing the sailor suit from hell. B, I can't describe it any more plainly than that, other than scantily clad woman with half scissor tries to cut open head of her biggest rival.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's actually a fairly apt description now that I've said that out loud. But it debuted last night, and I know my Facebook feed has been full of people praising Toonami for this move. Even though it's late night TV, I'm still kind of amazed they could get away with this series on there. We're talking about a series where the revolutionaries are named Nudist Beach for obvious reasons.
Nudist Beach?
Is that where that
Nudist
thing
Beach,
comes from?
yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
You've been staring at that for like the last year and a half and you didn't know what Nudist Beach was?
No, I just thought it was annoying people just chanting some weird bullshit.
No, that's the story. Including the teacher and his glowing nipples.
What?
No.
It's one of those weird tropes of the series. Because the leader of this thing of this group called Nudist Beach, he's disguised as a teacher. So every chance he gets, he just kind of disrobes, and as he disrobes, there are these weird purple sparklies over his nipples. I don't know if that means that they're censored. I don't know if that means they're special. I don't know if that means they could cut glass. I don't know if that means they could do a Kamehameha. But there's something very strange going on with that man's nipples.
Okay. File that away for future reference.
Well, we did find out that there's a new man in charge of the Final Fantasy franchise for Square Enix. Hajime Tabata has recently been elevated to helm the next two Final Fantasy games, Type 0 and 15. When he has his spare moments, he goes through Kotaku comments and runs them through Google Translate so he can get feedback on Type 0 and other games he's developing. To his credit, the man's been described as jovial and friendly, and he spent a little over an hour chatting with somebody at Kotaku in a Middletown office in Manhattan. Just wait till he gets a bunch of comments about Final Fantasy. He'll lose that jovial and friendly nature pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
I hope for his success, but man, gamers are brutal when they find something they don't like.
Yeah.
When it comes to something I don't like, we discussed this a couple months ago about a collaboration between Momoro Clover Z and Ancient Rocker's Kiss.
Yeah.
The video is out.
Oh yeah.
I know it's something we went over before the glitch, but we should probably go over it again simply because I don't know many people even talking about this.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things we derided when we heard about it, but it's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
There it is.
Like, it's totally catchy.
It is unnaturally catchy, especially since I'm not a huge fan of Kiss, and
Right. I've never listened to Kiss.
I don't like idol groups. Yeah, I don't like idol groups. They tend not to interest me because I'm more interested in bands than singers.
Yeah.
But this collaboration between the two is fun.
I enjoy
Wait, there's a video now with
I enjoy some people that are just performers and not actually musicians, but
I was kind of horrified where it seemed like there was an Attack on Titan reference as, Gene Simmons. Isn't there kind of an not Attack on Titan, a Kill la Kill feel in this series?
Yeah, I got a little bit of a Gurren Lagann, but it's by the same people, so yeah.
Yeah. Ace Frehley with Wolverine claws, that's fucking wicked.
yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but it's kind of cool to watch.
I'm just captivated by the visual spectacle in front of me.
Yeah. I actually like this art style. It's very... Unlike some anime, for me, it's much easier to see what's going on.
It's kind of funny, because as I watch certain scenes with the animated Kiss, it reminds me of the Black Dynamite cartoon series, frankly.
Okay, I know it's Gene Simmons when I see a large tongue.
Yeah. It's the actual, live-action Kiss, and you can see the wrinkles through the makeup at this point. This does look like demonic Attack on Titan, how tall they are compared to these people. Poor Clover Girls are so short compared to the members of Kiss.
Members...
And most of
I'm not sure it's a visual effect.
It's probably not.
Oh, yeah.
They're probably
Well, remember...
I don't know, 5 foot or under.
Yeah, Kiss tends to wear platform heels on stage, too. I'm astonished at how much I actually want to put this in my Zune. This entertains me.
I like the, I think it's a bass line?
Yeah. That's one of the things that Kiss has always done very well at, is the bass. I think maybe it's because I'm black, but I always think of the bass as very important in rock music.
Oh, no, I dig the bass. I get impatient with songs that don't have one.
Holy fuck, you know what their costumes remind me of all of a sudden? Anybody watch a bad cartoon series called The Ronin Warriors?
Yes. Yes.
All of a sudden I'm getting flashbacks to my childhood. Weird that I almost want a TV series out of this.
It's like a theme song.
See these 5 warrior women riding across the plains so they can kill the massive demons at the end.
Singing in a language I don't understand.
God, look at the height difference there. You look like a Palmer head.
Right? She has to be like 4'11" or...
I don't know. It looked like he actually had to stoop to give her that handshake. I like that too much. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to suck so bad, but I've been proven wrong. Unfortunately, one of those things we tried to report about last time, and we do need to go back over, is that the voice actor from Japan, Chiako Otsuka, passed away last Thursday due to ischemic heart disorder. The man was 85 years old. Now, for anime fans that tell me they don't know who he is, fuck you, you know who he is. He played Gold Roger in One Piece. He played Aola Shinberg in Mobile Suit Gundam 00. He played Goemon Ishikawa in Lupin the Third. He was Nezumi Otoko in Gegege no Kitaro, and he was Nura Hion in Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan.
Damn.
If you tell me you weren't a fan of old anime, you still know who he is, because he played Maxwell in Tales of Xillia and its sequel. He was Eggman in Sonic the Hedgehog. He was Big Boss in Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. He was survived by his son, Akio Otsuka, who also played Solid Snake in Metal Gear franchise.
Damn.
Man has a family that does voice acting. It's almost hard to believe he's gone, man, especially since we read not too long ago that Lupin has a new movie coming out. I wonder if his voice is on it. Wouldn't that be a heck of a way to go out? I do think we have a serious problem on this. It's turning into a global problem when it comes to weight. I am overweight. And I don't sit here and say that I have the right to be overweight. It's a goddamn problem. I overeat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Me too.
I just plain about it. I overeat and I'm doing myself a disservice. That is the truth. On January 15th, Japan has come out with a new plus-size idol group called the Marshmallow Girls.
Oh, what?
It's 5 women who are somewhat overweight. I'll send you an image so that you have an idea what I'm talking about. They are not like the usual willows that you expect from an idol group, but they also don't exactly look like small girls either. They don't look like above average. They look like they're actually a bit overweight.
Yeah.
I'm of mixed minds about this, because as much as women of any weight can contribute to music, there's something about a whole group of them that doesn't strike me as
But you
kosher.
see, the thing is that it should be, we should see different body types, yes. Girls that are built bigger, that just simply have different frames, or not that slim little willowy thing. But there's a difference between portraying of obesity as healthy and or desirable, and just simply portraying different body types so that girls can feel comfortable with themselves.
I agree with that. I do agree there are women of all kinds of different shapes out there. However, we have 5 members of this group: Risa Oki, Mai Yokogawa, Emi Tsukuda, Michiko Ohashi, and Maika Inudo. One of the first videos I'm aware of these girls, it's a single called Potya, Pottya. Some of it involves these girls sitting around a table and stuffing their face in the video.
That's
not exactly a positive portrayal of women of any kind, really.
Or people.
So this is a problem, because as much as women should be able to accept themselves and their foibles, regardless of what they are, having some overweight girls in a video while making music and indulging is not positive either.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's about the same as when people tell me, if I say you're overweight, you have a health issue, and they yell at me, stop fat shaming. Not fat shaming you, I'm telling you have a health problem and I want you to live.
Right. Like, I have a condition that if I were overweight, it would cause me some severe medical problems, but since I'm not, I'm fine.
Well, I already have my own personal medical issues outside my overweightness, and being overweight is not helping it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wish them success, but at the same time, I just hope they change the image a little bit of this. I am not a fan of the Super Sonico series. I've seen the character in several pinups and everything, but I don't know much about the story. There's an anime of Super Sonico, and recent announcements make me even less likely to watch this series. It's been announced that in the English dubbing of Super Sonico, the title character is going to be played by, I guess you could say, Boobalicious cosplayer Jessica Nigri.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this woman. I think she's very full of herself, and I'm not a fan of somebody whose primary cosplay talent has to do with how deep you can put a cleavage on just about everything you do. I don't mind women's assets, but at the same time, it's like every costume she comes up with has
Yeah.
a cleavage, and a big cleavage.
Like, there's nothing wrong with displaying boobies, but variety is good.
Yes. You should be able to be clothed and unclothed. It shouldn't matter as far as cosplay talent, but every one of her costumes involves a good amount of cleavage. That bugs me. They've also shown new character portraits for the Naruto play, the live-action Naruto play. We saw the title characters and how it looked like really good cosplay pictures. The next six reveals, believe it or not, are just as good. I almost wish this was coming to the U.S. Take a look. The characters of Hyuga Hinata, Arubame Shino, Inizuka Kiba, Achimi Kitoji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino have all been revealed.
I like those. These are visually appealing, if nothing else.
Yeah, these look like they're ready for a movie or TV show, not a live-action play. And these are really good. It looked like they put thought into how the characters look, as well as what kind of position to put them in for all these photos. The one that astonishes me the most is Anju Inami as Yamanaka Ino. Blonde Japanese is just not a natural thing that occurs, unless you go to, like, Hokkaido or something. However, this particular actress looks very natural as a blonde.
Right? It looks very attractive.
Yeah, it looks like she's always been that way. Pretty impressive, actually.
Well, it's possible that she's perhaps not fully Japanese?
It could be. Her eyes do seem to be a little rounder compared to a lot of Japanese women I've seen. But I don't know if that's a trick of makeup or not.
Right.
For all I know, these photos could be heavily photoshopped.
Actually, I think they are.
And some hair dye, if it's done right, can look really natural.
Yeah, that's very true. There was a recent snow festival in Japan, the Sapporo Snow Festival. It kicked off last week, or actually on Thursday of this week. One of the features, this is why it ended up in Anime in Japan news, not just because it's a Japanese festival, but because the first sculpture they showed off, oh my god, is this in our fucking wheelhouse. Take a look at this. This came off IO9 and Gawker. What you're looking at is basically Mount Hothmore.
This is awesome. I'm not even like a big Star Wars person, but that's awesome.
Yeah, what would you say that is from stage to top? About 2 stories, isn't it?
2 stories? No, look at the building in the background. That's at least...
Well, the building I'm looking at the people in the foreground trying to get a visual representation. I guess it could be about 25 feet tall. I'm sorry, I haven't described it. Somebody took a bunch of bust and profile shots of 3 Stormtroopers and Darth Vader, as well as TIE Fighter Advances, the Death Star, and several other things in the background, and made a gigantic snow sculpture. Oh wait, V, you may be right. This may be closer to about 3 stories. I found another image here with, I'm guessing, the sculptor right fucking in front of it. Take a look at this.
Yeah.
That's probably closer to 3 stories, really.
I would say 4.
And maybe 4. That's... My god.
Yeah, I'm just visually stacking that guy on his head a few times.
There's a couple of images I'm not going to show that shows, it looks like about 15 people in scaffolding around this thing as they work. I would hate to be the art director here, man. I would go insane.
Right.
No, the finger has to be slimmer. Is anybody here a fan of the old Iron Chef show from Japan?
Nope.
No.
I don't mean the Americanized version. I mean the actual original Iron Chef, so it's just me, huh?
Yep.
Okay, well, it was announced that there's an anime on an anime coming out based on a manga that has to do with a food competition show. Mm-hmm. It's called, where is it? The title of it is Shokugeki no Soma, which I believe translates to the Food Halberd, or War of the Food Halberd. It appears to be all about cooking competitions. And the trailer is out, and the odd thing is, as stupid as the premise sounds, this is a good-looking show. I want to watch it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
There you go. It's all in Japanese, so it takes a little patience to get through, but it's a well-produced series. It actually looks better than some things I'm watching now. It looks like one of those series I'd enjoy where the world is just a little bit different than the natural one and everything's very tongue-in-cheek.
Very bright.
Yeah. Interesting depictions of meats and vegetables. The one pagoda at the top of the mountain is kind of
Yeah.
floating.
And there's something up with the clouds around it.
Well, they appear to be circling in the right direction for that hemisphere.
Unnecessary upskirt.
Oh no, it's highly necessary. I think we need that.
Oh, and there's a super shy one.
Yep. There's the one that appears to like carving things.
And has gigantic boobs.
Nothing wrong there.
No.
The naked guy with an apron, okay. There's a lot of anime stereotypes, but it's, like I said, it's well produced. It made me curious to watch it. And it looked goofy enough to be funny.
I
mean, we're talking about an anime based on food, for
Making me
Christ's sakes.
hungry.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's naked women surrounded by plants and stuff.
Yeah, that's a little new.
The guy with the apron is scaring me a bit.
Ah.
You know what? I could watch this. It's goofy and it's weird and it makes me feel like I'm just going to end up laughing a lot. I think I could watch this.
I don't seek this shit out, but I may just try.
Well, that trailer actually came out via Warner Brothers Anime, so it's going to come out sooner or later. We're going to move into nerd interest news, where we talk about those little nerdy things that don't quite fit into any other category, but it's interesting stuff to hear about. Has anyone heard the story supposedly that Christopher Eccleston doesn't like being Doctor Who?
Yep. He apparently had a big falling out with him.
Well, I don't know if that had to do with him being Doctor Who so much as he had serious issues with the showrunner. I think this was before Stephen Moffat came in.
Right. It was with Russell T. Davies.
Okay. Well, there was a recent video that came out that kind of busts open the idea that Christopher Eccleston doesn't like being Doctor Who.
Okay.
Anybody hear about this?
I heard about it, but haven't seen it.
I may have saw something.
Okay. Well, I found the YouTube.
Shoot.
There you go. It's obviously a cell phone video. It's not a very good-looking video.
Oh yeah, I have seen this.
I don't know where this is. That's a nice view of a man's crotch.
Yeah.
Close up.
Oh, it's Christopher Eccleston's crotch. Okay. Well, that'll give it a lot of clicks, wouldn't it?
It's the TARDIS is just at the bottom there, and I have an assistant who I'm just going to go and get. Oh yeah.
It sounds like he's in New York or somewhere in the eastern U.S. His accent's very pronounced, but everybody else sounds American.
Yeah. Either that or they're tourists.
Yeah. This appears to be part of the setup. She brought a man. Or he brought a man. So did you guys follow what just occurred
He's
there?
proposing.
Yeah, with the help of Christopher Eccleston, who just said he brought him in from the TARDIS. I like Eccleston there. He looks both composed but nervous, like he's not sure if he did this correctly. What do you think it would take to get Eccleston to help with something like that?
A really heartwarming story.
You were brave to do that in front of
Or a small bucket of money?
I'll tell you, she might have.
That woman is flustered. She is like trying not to cry.
Why? Oh, I guess.
Probably because it's one of her favorite TV stars and she just got proposed to. No, I'm going to take a guess, but you don't get Christopher Eccleston to come in as Doctor Who unless the lady actually knows who he is and what he does.
Yeah, of course.
She's about to lose her mind. It's cute, but she's freaking out. Oh, she gets a congratulatory kiss from Eccleston. On the cheek, you perverts.
You're welcome. That's my wife over there.
Oh, he brought his wife.
Oh, I didn't know he was married.
Neither did I. It's a cute moment. I wonder if he was already in town or if somebody brought him for that or what.
Well, it had to have been something, because he's been, like, adamantly anti... well, maybe not anti, but not, you know...
He hasn't really talked about his years on Doctor Who at all, or year. Maybe it was the bucket of money.
Maybe.
Do you guys use doorstops in your homes?
No.
Not really.
Okay. I don't either. If I did, I might have to re-examine it. Now that there's a farmer in England who was using his doorstop, it was just a hunk of metal he found in one of his fields for 12 years.
Yeah.
Turns out that hunk of bronze was a ceremonial 3,500-year-old bronze dirk.
Damn.
I just like the word dirk.
It's just on the edge of dirty.
Right?
The Smithsonian picked up on this history blog report of the sale of the dirk, which is bent and covered in green tarnish, and it was sold as is for $62,272 to Norwich Castle Museum late last year.
Yeah.
The senior historic environment officer of Norfolk's Identification Recording Service identified it as a very rare and important ceremonial dirk from the Middle Bronze Age from around 1500 BC. This particular one was used as a prestige piece and the work of the best artisans money could buy. So he's been using a piece of very expensive history to stop a door. Fuck, I may have to go look more look and feel in England.
I bet he feels all sorts of things.
Yeah, he's probably put down money on something by now. I know we're excited about the Oculus Rift, which is rumored to be being released sometime this year. But Microsoft is coming out with a device that also is something I would like to get my hands on, the HoloLens.
I've heard about this big.
Yeah, think of the HoloLens as an augmented reality device. Instead of presenting a 3D screen or a pair of screens in front of your eyes to create a whole new landscape, the HoloLens would have a lens that would project images on top of an existing landscape. It would put items that aren't there, like in your home or out in the world. It's an interesting idea, and it's one that I know people have been playing with items like tablets and possibly cell phones and everything. But to have a wearable device, a hands-free type of device, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
Somebody from Gizmodo got their hands on one supposedly for testing, and it pretty much blew their minds.
So everyone could be Tony Stark.
They can use for things. Just about. It can be used for several things like interactive museums, mapping features. It can be used to play some virtual calls while you're trying to do something. It could also be used just for basic web browsing. This thing does actually have multiple uses if you can get the scanning technology to work properly. That would be very cool. There's been an unexpected discovery on the surface of Rosetta's comet, the Chermov-Givshenko comet.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, a couple of astrophysicists found ripples in its topography. I know that doesn't sound important to a lot of people, but when you think about it, usually ripples are only supposed to form when there's some form of atmosphere. And this particular asteroid doesn't have any, this comet. However, something is causing ripples. It appears that actually as it spins and hurtles through space, the drag from celestial bodies is actually changing the topography of the comet.
Which is cool.
Maybe not. Yeah, it's not quickly, it's not breezy or anything, but it does change a lot of what we understand about celestial bodies with no atmosphere. Makes us need to re-examine a whole lot of things, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
And I'd be surprised if people in this country hadn't heard about it, but maybe people around the world have not heard that measles is now a problem in the U.S. again.
Because parents are stupid.
Sort of. The guess is that somebody from another country where measles was still an issue visited Disneyland, and pass it on to several individuals who have now transmitted over the course of the last month to over 100 people across the U.S. Actually, I think it's about 200 across the U.S. I think there's over 100 just in California now. The issue, though, is that it's bringing up a whole new debate about the anti-vaccination movement in the U.S. The assumption is that everybody who was sick was very likely unvaccinated. It's difficult to get sick if you've been vaccinated against measles. I think the chance is only about 3% if you've been vaccinated. If you've been unvaccinated, that possible contagion rate bumps up to about 92%. And measles for children is not exactly dangerous. It's very treatable. Measles for adults, highly dangerous.
Right, just like chickenpox.
Yes, the possible side effects could include brain swelling. And it's gotten to the point where several things have been done recently. People who have not vaccinated their children have been told they're probably not going to be probably not a good idea to go to Disneyland by Disneyland. There's been a few school districts in California that when a suspected case of measles comes around, any child who's been unvaccinated has been told not to go near the school for 3 weeks. This has created several people who have, or this has created an instance where several people have said it's my right not to vaccinate my child. You know what? That is your right. That is utterly your right. But it is also your privilege to go through the issues that may arise if you don't vaccinate your child too.
Also, I think I posted something about this to this effect on Facebook earlier. I just think it's appalling that people think that autism is somehow worse than getting a potentially fatal disease. When, as far as I'm concerned, autism and similar things are simply a different kind of brain chemistry that has advantages for different kinds of thinking, which is vital to a healthy society.
Yes. I've seen a couple recent Facebook posts about this, two of which spring to mind. One is a woman who said it's not so bad if you vaccinate and your son is autistic. He might not be gay anyway, which is just wonderful. Thank you, fucking Facebook. But the one that really kind of blew the whole thing open as far as my thought process was one woman who said, you would rather your child be dead than autistic.
Yeah.
And autism is a potential side effect of vaccination, but it only occurs in cases of what I think 1 in every 100,000. The chances are pretty low. You know, there's still a chance. I mean, it's not like science has said it's impossible that your children are autistic if they get vaccinated, but the odds are very, very low.
I think that the crucial issue here is that people are afraid of autism. They don't understand. Well, not afraid in the literal sense, but
they're not afraid. They're ignorant of it.
They don't understand it, and so they want to make them be normal when being normal isn't the issue.
I don't think they understand that there's probably a significant amount of us that probably have undiagnosed autism. We just assume we're quirky.
Yeah.
A lot of people have thought that I was autistic. I'm not, but
you're antisocial.
I have some strange social quirks, yes.
Okay. I don't think we need to dwell on that. I'm not looking down on people who don't vaccinate, but you also need to just be aware that if you decide not to do it, there are going to be consequences. Just like there's consequences if you choose to vaccinate.
I just feel very strongly about this. So.
I know. I think the consequences for not vaccinating are much more radical than if you do vaccinate. We see. The online RPG company, Roll20, they're hiring a professional dungeon master.
Oh?
Really?
I want to sign up.
Yeah. Well, this story came out as of this last Thursday, so it's still relatively new. R20 is a web app for people that provides a virtual tabletop for running RPGs. It's pretty well regarded among RPG players who like to play with friends or internet pals who are in remote areas. And they have a new job opening for Games Master. According to the job posting, the contractor will create engaging content for our audience with an emphasis on showing the best ways to utilize the Roll20 platform across a wide array of gaming experiences. Contractor will host at least 2 live game broadcasts per week, produce Q&A sessions for the community along with our dev team, and be a general go-to resource for other GMs who want to make the most of R20's tool set in their games. You can go to the R20 blog to read the full set of qualifications and responsibilities, and then you can apply. Because as Ed Grabbounce Ed Rabianowski of IO9 puts it, you could be getting paid to play D&D.
Yeah, to run D&D, no less.
Yep. And speaking of D&D, D&D is going back to the Temple of Elemental Evil as of this April. D&D has brought back one of their staple events, but they're not just making it a single book or item. They're making this a run from March through midsummer of the Temple of Elemental Evil, which will include products such as, according to the list, a free downloadable PDF available in mid-March, which will add new elemental spells and elemental races to the D&D tabletop game, including the return of the Ganassi as a playable character race. The Princes of the Apocalypse, a D&D adventure by Wizards of the Coast and Sasquatch Game Studio, available on April 7th. It will collect some of the player content from the previously listed PDF and also includes an epic adventure for character levels 1 through 15, retailing for $49.95. A new board game, Temple of Elemental Evil, available on April 30th for $64.99. It features multiple scenarios and cooperative play for 1 to 5 players and can be combined with other D&D adventure game systems, including The Legend of Drizzt and Castle Ravenloft. Neverwinter, Elemental Evil, a new downloadable module for the free-to-play Dungeons & Dragons MMORPG from Cryptic Studios and Perfect World Entertainment. The expansion will introduce the Paladin as a new playable class and increase the game's level cap to 70. A new line of 44 pre-painted collectible miniatures from WizKid Games, priced at $15.99 per pack of 4, to be released on March 31st. A Dungeon Master screen featuring Elemental Evil art, as well as unpainted resin miniatures that tie into the adventure from Gale Force 9. They're scheduled for release in the beginning of March. That's everything you're getting over the next season from Wizards of the Coast for the Temple of Elemental Evil.
It's a pretty good list.
That's a lot of shit. Yeah. It's a little bit of everything. You know, video games, board games, tabletop games.
They've been doing really well in marketing lately.
Maybe they hired somebody new, because it does seem they've taken D&D out of the proverbial closet into the light.
Yeah.
It now seems to be a more contemporary game.
Without being dumbed down too much. Or, like, at all.
Exactly. Well, that's always what we've argued is necessary. You need to bring in new players, not alienate your existing base. You just got to bring in the new guys so you expand the base.
Yeah, just... Like, I haven't read the new books yet, but the old books are just horribly written. I'm just like, you shouldn't be writing this for a rules lawyer. You should be writing it for a layperson.
That's just generally not how people think. You know, they want to appeal to the hardcores. It's like how people tell me, you're not a hardcore gamer. Well, what exactly is a hardcore gamer? You have to do X, Y, Z. Well, that's what a hardcore gamer is for you. Me, I enjoy my A, B, and C. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Last bit of general nerd interest news I have here is that, you know, Lizard Squad has been pissing off a lot of people lately. They're the ones who have taken responsibility for the recent downings of the PlayStation Live and Xbox Live networks, especially over Christmas. Then they said they weren't going to do that anymore. Instead, they were going to release a tool that anybody could buy online if they want to pull off their own DDoS attacks on systems.
This is great.
Well, it turns out as soon as they made this move into retail, they became a target of hackers. Lizard Squad's been hacked. Somebody took their entire account base, as well as anybody who's paid for their systems, and put all this information online. A roster of 14,241 people who signed up. And it's all been data dumped online. Who knew a hacker squad knew nothing about cybersecurity?
Or better hacker, I guess.
Yeah, they're Lizard Squad, not anonymous. Last news we have is often the most fun, but the most frightening is our What the Fuck corner. We talk about those stories across the internet that just makes you wonder, what the fuck happened here? First off, we have the fact that there is a Lovecraft beer coming out.
What?
Narragansett Brewing Company was founded in 1980, which was the same year that H.P. Lovecraft was born. They've decided to create a beer in Lovecraft's name. According to Boston Magazine, Narragansett will release their new Lovecraft Honey Ale on January 19th, the birthday of Lovecraft's biggest literary influence, Edgar Allan Poe. The collaboration with Revival Brewing under another Rhode Island product will be the first chapter in a 4-part series of beers celebrating Providence's most famous native son.
Okay.
Does that mean if you drink enough of it, you will see Cthulhu?
Or will you lose your mind?
Better than absinthe.
Be lost in time and space.
It's all kinds of jokes here. Something I need to revisit because of the data the data loss, which is something I really don't want to talk about. Jesse, you're a My Little Pony fan, right?
Yeah. What?
He remembers what we're about to talk about.
Yes, I do.
You ever imagine having a sex with a My Little Pony?
No.
Well, unfortunately, there's a Chinese company that's making the sexy inflatable girl pony. China is mass-producing anthropomorphic Rainbow Dash sex dolls.
No.
I sent a URL of this thing compared in size to what I assume is a full-grown Chinese man. If not, this guy really needs to rethink his parenting choices. Because it's next to a person for size comparison.
No.
I just want to know who would find this interesting enough to even put their penis near it. It's frightening.
There are freaks everywhere.
It doesn't look like anything I would want to spend time with. It looks like something that was pulled straight out of a childhood nightmare, frankly. What is with the hips on this thing?
You have to be mentally disturbed.
What is with the hips, though? They look like birthing hips. They look like somebody took Kim Kardashian's butt and put it on a blow-up doll.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm kind of curious to know who made it. Not because I want to shake his hand, because I really want to know what he thinks of women. This is not anything that resembles a female form.
I agree.
The cone boobs are just
It's
horrible.
obviously just a horse made vertical.
I guess it's all some people need, but I would need something a little more compelling than this. Do you think there's another orifice under that tail?
You think that. I'll stop. I'm going to turn it off.
I'm asking a question.
I'm just amused at how uncomfortable this makes everyone else, and I just think it's hilarious.
I think it's bad as all hell. Have you ever had reason to question your doctor?
Not yet.
Oh, there's some people in West Palm Beach, Florida, I'm sure are asking a lot of questions. There was a teenager who was arrested out at the West Palm Beach St. Mary's Medical Center. And the police have agreed not to charge this young man. He's been masquerading as a doctor for over a month. Last Tuesday, police were called in after a patient... Yeah, patients alerted staff that a medical center's OBGYN office about a juvenile dressed in a lab coat inside an exam room, of all things.
OBGYN.
Yes. The patient said the lab coat had a St. Mary's logo and anesthesiology stitched to the front. A security guard had actually told police he'd seen the teen around the hospital for a month. Another person said the teen entered secured areas of the hospital just in the last week. The teen told police he'd been a doctor for years. Now, I'm sure you're probably asking, why the fuck wasn't this kid brought up on charges? That's because the teen's mother told police he'd been under the care of a doctor and hasn't been taking his meds lately.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I still wonder why you couldn't come up with some kind of charges at least. Trespassing or something to reinforce it, regardless of circumstance. Shouldn't do this.
I agree.
Not charging is almost like giving him carte blanche to do it again.
They should at least, put him on some sort of probation or something.
You'd think so. And I'm sure by now you've heard that King Tut's burial mask has been damaged. I
haven't heard about that, actually.
Really? It's one of the most iconic items that's ever come out of Egypt. You know that giant gold burial mask that you always see in, portrayed in TV shows and in movies? Some people were looking at it in the last couple of weeks, and they realized that it looks like the beard had been damaged.
Yeah, that's right. We did talk about this.
Yeah, it turns out it was snapped off. And then whoever tried to fix it put in a hasty epoxy resin, and they did such a sloppy job, they had to scratch that off the chin. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because originally when this story broke, when people noticed it, the museum that's housing it, an Egyptian museum, said that what happened was it was broken while cleaning. Feasible, but frightening, I would say.
Why wouldn't they tell us?
I don't know. Here's the thing. A few days later, they went, as they were talking about being able to restore the mask, use traditional means to put that beard back on. The story at that point was that it was broken while they were adjusting the lighting inside the case. So that leads to all kinds of questions. I mean, did some poor janitor named Habib have to take one for the team? Did some jackass who was trying to relight this thing accidentally touch it? Did somebody attempt to steal this thing and everybody's covering it up?
All good questions.
It sounds very Thomas Crown and everything, I admit, but the fact that there's two very different stories about what happened here makes me naturally curious as to what did happen here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there'll be an investigation of some sort.
Yeah. Well, one investigation is closed. It has to do with Delaware Chancery. A lawyer was acting pro se. In other words, he was acting without fees for his client because he was suing Disney on behalf of his client for, quote, stalling the next evolution of human transportation on this planet, unquote.
What?
Okay, you're going to have to follow me here because this is where it gets weird. There was a man, okay? He supposedly was coming up with an idea for human transportation. It was some kind of flyable ship, a flyable personal ship that was based on the X-Wing from Star Wars. Why you would choose to make your ship after one of the most unyieldy and unaerodynamic things ever invented, I don't know, but keep following me here. He actually got Disney to agree to take a meeting with him back in 2009 about this proposed ship. He wanted to look a lot like an X-Wing. Disney said, no, thank you. Okay?
Okay.
Here's where it gets stupid. This man then sued Disney for stalling his project because, as he put it, the fact that they agreed to meet with him was tacit approval of his plan before the proposal.
Okay.
So the man in question, Joseph Alfred, said that just because somebody agreed to hear him about his idea, that meant the idea was de facto approved. And when he started to put together his project, and Disney basically said, no, you can't do that, we're working with LucasArts, who owns it, stop now, he sued them saying that they're stalling his idea because just the fact that they met with him meant that they had already pre-approved his plan.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Now, there's a Delaware Vice Chancellor named Glasscock, who sounds like something right out of Star Wars, frankly.
Glasscock?
Yeah, Vice Chancellor Glasscock. Spelled exactly as you think it is.
Okay.
And when he put together his ruling on this, it was so epic. Quote, that complaint is remarkable. It is, in my experience, a unique example of the pleader's art. It cites to the Epic of Gilgamesh, Woody Guthrie, the Declaration of Independence, Noah and the Great Flood, Game of Thrones, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Trek, President Obama, and Euclid's Proof of the Infinity of Primes, among other references. It is well written and compelling. In fact, it can be faulted for only a single but significant shortcoming. It fails to state a claim on which relief could be granted, unquote. So in other words, his whole opinion basically said, it's a very interesting, thought-out idea. Fuck you, it's stupid.
I like it.
I think there was more thought put into the answer than there was the actual complaint. Also in What the Fuck News, sometimes we come across those stories that make us just question how you're able to breathe. This is one of those. There's a pastor of the ATLAH Missionary Church in Harlem, New York, okay?
Okay.
He warned last year that Starbucks coffees are flavored with the semen of sodomites.
Huh?
Okay.
He's claiming that the most popular coffee chain in America is flavored with the semen of sodomites. In other words, gay semen. That might explain why people get double froth on some of their lattes. I don't know.
Well, he's wrong because I'm fairly certain that's, a distinct taste.
I was going to ask how you knew what that taste could possibly be. You were making me extremely curious here.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine it would taste anything different than, guys.
Let's not go any further than this.
Yeah.
No, we have to go a little further than this because there's a part of this that may actually explain what the fuck is wrong
I'm
with this
thinking
man.
we should stop digging this hole.
Oh, okay. Now, it turns out this preacher, James David Manning, he'd been in prison. And he said in an interview regarding being potentially tempted by the gay lifestyle in The Young Turks, he replied with, quote, "Absolutely, no doubt about it. I spent 3.5 years in prison. I saw a lot of that activity going on in prison. It was par for the course. I was tempted, but I didn't yield to temptation. By the way, you need to know that. Make sure you publish that as well," unquote. Now, this seems to lean into the old phrase, "maybe he doth protest too much."
Quite possibly.
Seems to be a man that's awfully concerned about gay semen. Watch, we're going to find out now that he's regular at Starbucks.
I don't even... let's move on.
Unfortunately, I have something almost equally stupid here. There's a lady named Penny Nance. She's the CEO of a conservative lobby group called the Concerned Women for America. She appeared on Fox News, and she argued that Disney and Hollywood in general vilifies masculinity by depicting male characters in movies as evil, stupid, or superfluous. Do you know what she brought as her Exhibit A?
What?
Frozen.
Okay, I my only exposure to Frozen is to that storyline in Once Upon a Time.
Okay, she showed two scenes from the movie. One of which was a leading man, Kristoff, the hero of the movie, telling Princess Anna that all men pick their noses. How is that?
What's wrong with that?
How is it? I don't know. How is that vilifying masculinity?
It isn't.
How is that evil, stupid, or superfluous by a man declaring that all men pick their nose?
It might be a bit disgusting, but...
I would say all people pick their nose at one point or another.
Okay, here's the real question I have, though. How is Frozen a bad example to boys of how men should act? There is one male character who is the villain of the story. That is granted. There is also a rather strong male protagonist in it. He's just not the central character of the story.
Yeah. Well,
and the male protagonist even is an ice master. He goes out there by himself, cutting ice for other people, wearing furs all goddamn day. His only friend is a reindeer. He has his own sled. He has his own business. How is this a bad male role model?
Sounds like a good guy to me. Especially his portrayal on Once Upon a Time, again, is even, more virtuous.
Let alone, he's got all this, and he's an orphan.
Well, there you go.
I don't know what the fuck this lady was talking about. The weirdest part was, as she's talking, the host on this particular segment on Fox News, Steve Busey, agreed with her.
What?
Yeah. This lady, Nance, even took a leap of logic, connecting Frozen's dearth of manliness to the Aurora, Colorado movie shooting in 2012, the Batman shooting.
What the hell?
I don't know. I don't know where you go from vilifying manliness to suddenly guy shoots up movie theater. Those seem to be two very different problems.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Steve Busey agreed with her and said, quote, "It would be nice for Hollywood to have more male figures in those kinds of movies," unquote. What, animated films? The writer on Yahoo Movies said that just in the last 5 years, you've got male protagonists in Big Hero 6, Planes, Fire and Rescue, Planes, Monster University, Wreck-It Ralph, Frankenweenie, Winnie the Pooh, Cars 2, Mars Needs Moms, and Toy Story 3.
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know. I'm starting to really think Fox News doesn't research a goddamn thing before they start speaking.
I don't think they do. At this point, they're just, they know their audience. They know the people that actually watch them don't realize.
Hey, we got an idea. Let's poke it. See what happens.
Speaking of poking.
Oh, no.
On our What the Fuck, I have a list.
Oh.
A list of 10 TV episodes from sci-fi shows that everyone pretends never happened.
Ooh, this should be good.
It's from IO9. It's written by Dana Billier and Charlie Jane Anders. At the top of this list is an episode of Stargate SG-1, believe it or not.
I'm sure. Which one?
The episode Hathor. Quote, "This much criticized episode introduced a lot of complicated rules about the alien Goa'uld that later got dropped or ignored, and the writers themselves sort of disowned it. The show even joked about it in a later episode. In Heroes Part 1, Dr. Janet Fraser mentions the whole Hathor incident, which we're never supposed to speak of again, unquote. I sort of remember that.
I remember the name Hathor. I just don't remember what happened.
Anybody watch Red Dwarf?
Yep.
No.
Okay, that made number 2 on the list. The episode Parallel Universe, on the list of 10 episodes that their TV shows forgot ever occurred. Quote, in the final episode of Season 2, the ship goes to a parallel universe where the characters' alternate selves are female. Naturally, the two listers have unprotected sex, which results in the male lister becoming pregnant. Because in this universe, it's the men who bear the children. So the season ends with Lister pregnant, and the writers intended to deal with that when they came back for Season 3. But that episode never got filmed because it wasn't funny, and also maybe sexist. Instead, they lumped a whole bunch of plot points into a quick synopsis. Lister gave birth to 2 boys who did some very advanced aging stuff and had to be returned to the alternate universe. And the pregnancy is only mentioned once, quite briefly, ever again. Quote.
I remember that. I thought it was a funny episode. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's their opinion. Personally, I was a fan of Angel when it was on TV. They actually have an episode that they kind of forgot occurred. The episode of Eternity. Quote, in this episode, Angel is drugged with a euphoric and briefly turns into Angelus, because apparently drugs are as good as true happiness.
I remember that.
A lot of people hated the episode. If you can just turn Angel evil with a pill, why don't his enemies do that all the time? But Tim Minier has defended it. I know there were a lot of criticism on the internet about the way he went bad, and did he really go bad? The idea of giving Angel a variation of ecstasy, to me, just worked. I thought it was a really good way to bring Angelus into a series for a moment so that he could interact with our characters for a moment without doing some big Angel has turned evil arc. You sort of get to have your cake and eat it too in this episode. It really works well when he goes evil.
I liked that, but...
At the same time, Angel never took an evil pill again, unquote.
I thought that episode was pretty good.
I thought it had points, but I was kind of wondering why no one else slipped anything into his coffee throughout the series.
Like that's the major issue is there. If this can happen, why didn't it happen again? I'm guessing just because no one thought about it because demons are behind the times.
Or maybe it was just too easy.
No, the fanfic writers got it.
Number 4 on this list of episodes that their TV shows forgot ever existed was from Star Trek Voyager, the episode of Threshold.
What? Yeah, that's the one where Tom goes mates with the captain while a lizard.
Oh, when they go past the Warp 10 barrier.
Yes.
Quote, in this episode, breaking the Warp 10 barrier somehow results in Tom Paris and Captain Janeway becoming salamanders, running away to a swamp planet, mating, and then having 3 salamander children. It was so bad that one of its writers called it a royal steaming stinker. On the other hand, it won the 1996 Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Makeup for a series, so that's something. Still, the notion that going faster than Warp 10 will turn you into a salamander has never been discussed in any of the various iterations of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Quote.
I like the episode because I'm a huge Tom Paris fan, but...
Yeah, but usually when they break the Warp 10 barrier, it's time travel, not mutation.
Yeah.
Number 5 on this list is from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the episode Normal Again.
I don't remember that.
Quote.
By title.
Quote, in this episode, Buffy is attacked by a demon whose venom causes her to believe that she's actually in a mental hospital and that the last 6 years have all been a hallucination.
What? That was a great episode.
Or possibly, we discover that Buffy is in a mental hospital and that the entire show has taken place in her mind. The famous final scene, showing Buffy back in the mental hospital, leaves room for interpretations either way. And Joss Whedon has said that people can make up their own minds on the matter. For his part, though, he thinks that the events of the series really happened. The show never alluded to the Buffy in a mental institution scenario again, in any case. Update, just to clarify, this is one of 2 episodes on this list we love, but which we feel was swept under the rug because of its implications for the rest of the series.
Yeah, fair.
Scroll down for the other one.
If I don't know if you guys have seen that episode, but it is really good. Like, it makes you think that she might have been in an institution the whole time.
I'm sure I've seen it, but I'm positive I don't remember it. Let me see. The next one is from Star Trek The Next Generation, the Force of Nature episode.
Which one was that one?
That's the one where they all de-evolved, I think?
Nope.
Oh, maybe not.
Well, in this eco-inspired episode, the crew learns that the warp drive propulsion is actually tearing at the fabric of space.
Oh, that's right.
and the Federation decrees that all their ships must stick to a speed limit of warp 5, except in cases of emergency. The speed limit is then referenced a few episodes later, only so that it can be overridden, and then it just sort of disappears. An unpublished Voyager technical manual suggested the problem may have been solved with variable geometry pylons, for whatever that's worth, unquote.
Yeah.
They do just kind of sweep that one
I
completely
thought
under
that
the
was
rug.
an interesting idea, but they should have dealt more with it.
Maybe they thought it was too much flowers and gun barrels at the time.
Remember, the Next Generation is the weakest, second weakest in terms of continuity and storylines. So, I mean, they didn't even let them have continuing storylines until I think it was
DS9?
No. It was a specific episode. I'll have to look that up and get back to that. But
okay. Well, on this list of episodes or TV shows wish they'd forgotten, there's a Doctor Who episode here. Trial of a Time Lord. Quote, "This is the season-long Doctor Who storyline that ended Colin Baker's tenure as the Doctor, on television at least, after the show was put on hiatus and nearly cancelled in 1985. In Trial, the Doctor discovers that his evil side will come out in between the 12th and 13th lives, and will then go to Time Lord Law School in order to become a prosecutor in the Gallifreyan legal system so he can put his past self on trial. For a long time afterward, BBC reportedly had a prohibition on mentioning this story, but last year the Valiard was name-checked during the Name of the Doctor. At the same time, neither John Hurt nor Matt Smith turned into an evil attorney." And number 8 on this list is from Battlestar Galactica. Not the original series, the remake series. The episode Black Market.
what? I like that one again.
You like a lot of these things that the series kind of try to ignore.
Because they're usually
Interesting?
Okay. Yes, they're usually interesting.
Quote, "This is the episode where Lee Adama is dating a sex worker and taking part in a whole black market thingy. And at the end of the episode, there's a scene where it feels like Bill Adama and his son sort of look at each other and say, 'This never happened.' And then it's never mentioned again. Ronald D. Moore has been very vocal about disliking this episode, and his take on Lee Adama was basically ignored afterwards." Unquote.
I really enjoyed that take on Lee Adama. I appreciated seeing a darker side to him.
You know, it astonishes me. I think I've seen all but 2 of these episodes.
Yeah, the only one I haven't seen so far is the Colin Baker thing.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that I've seen the next one from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Breaker of Chains. Quote, "The only part of this episode that everyone agreed to pretend never happened is the bit where Jaime Lannister rapes his sister Cersei next to the tomb of their newly dead son Joffrey. There's actually an article in the Daily Beast with a headline, 'Why We Should Pretend the Game of Thrones Rape Scene Never Happened.' The show basically depends on everybody going along with this because Jaime and Cersei have a number of interactions in the following episodes which make no sense if you see them as a conversation between a rape victim and her rapist."
See,
unquote.
I still didn't ever get the rape vibe from that. I guess because I read the scene in the book and it was distinctly not rapey, and I just...
You know, I saw the episode and I didn't see it necessarily as a rape scene. I did see it as unwelcome.
Yeah,
but it didn't seem like
it was
one of those
more
things
like,
she was
no,
fighting
stop,
off.
oh, fine.
Yeah, you know, even my wife has had those moments of not now, shit, whatever.
Yeah. If you pester them enough, they'll give in.
Yeah. The last episode is another Doctor Who episode. This one I've seen, Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Quote, "We could also mention the Who TV movie where it's revealed the Doctor is half human. But the whole plot of this actually quite wonderful episode depends on the idea that if you cross your own timeline, huge time vultures will appear and eat everybody. If the show had stuck to that rule since then, a lot of the past 5 years would look very different, including the Christmas Carol episode. But also a lot of Matt Smith's most pivotal episodes. The absence of the time vultures showing up and devouring people every time they intersect with their own past is an abiding mystery. As an update, Paul Cornell, writer of the episode, has taken issue with our take of it on Twitter, arguing that the show actually built on it, with the relevant bits below. By Paul Cornell, that's where all the fixed point stuff in the show's later mythology comes from. I think it's a perfect retrofit. I think Rose's dad's death is a problem because it's a fixed point. The language Chris uses is like later fixed point stuff, unquote.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I do think they're probably...
So that's why these are fixed points in time, to keep time vultures from coming to eat you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that and...
Okay.
I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I think we get it. Going back to another subject in our What the Fuck corner, there's only a couple stories left. This one is really astonishing. Remember the discussion we had about Disneyland and the measles outbreak?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a lot of stories nowadays and a lot of people saying that you need to vaccinate your children. You know, let's put the autism thing aside. We'll just say it plainly. There's a lot of people out there right now saying you need to vaccinate your children. We need herd immunity back, as they put it. There is now a children's book out there from the other side of the fence. The anti-vaxxers are now putting out a children's book you can get on Amazon that I want to kill someone over. The title of it is Measles is Marvelous.
What?
Melanie's Marvelous Measles is available on Amazon.com, and it's a children's book aimed at 10-year-olds to convince them that the measles is actually pretty fun with no serious side effects and is something kids should look forward to getting.
I agree with you. Someone needs to be shot.
According to addictinginfo.com, some of the basic medical advice here is that measles is easily avoided by drinking melon juice. Vaccines weaken the immune system. Getting measles strengthens the immune system. It is hard for me to process and enunciate how, as a father, this utterly fucking infuriates me.
Yeah.
And here are the main points of the story, according to Addicting Info. The main character, Melanie, was vaccinated but got measles anyway. The worst case the doctor had ever seen, so she runs around with a big grin full of energy showing off her cool red dots. Melanie's mom responds to her daughter getting measles in a classroom that apparently has a 50% vaccination rate by exclaiming, "So much for vaccination." Melanie's unvaccinated classmate, Tina, is protected from measles by all the melon and carrot juice she drinks. And this makes her sad because she'd love to catch the measles. And then there is Jared, who's the villain of the story. He's a boy in class who believes in vaccination. He's mean, eats junk food, and comes down with measles anyway because, according to this book, vaccinations don't work.
This is a stacked story.
Yeah, there was one person who responded. He wrote a review of the book on Amazon. His name is Michael G. Gogolski. He's from NoState.com. Frankly, I'd almost like to shake his hand because he said, if you enjoyed this book, check out these other fine titles from the same author. Abby's Absolutely Abundant Abscesses, Addie's Adorable Adenoma, Adelia's Addled Alzheimer's, Beatrice's Body Bronchitis, Bennett's Breathtaking Boil, Carol's Colorful Chlamydia, and he goes on. There's another one from a lady named Deborah Cowell. She wrote a review on this book that actually, I think, kind of states it all. Quote, I can only presume that the author was born after the successful vaccination program made people complacent about the dangers of measles. I was not so lucky. In the epidemic of my childhood, I was nearly blinded and still have scars on my eyeballs. I was the lucky member of the family. My sister died from complications. Measles kills children. The book is irresponsible and misleading at best. At worst, it could lead to the death of a child. Edit, to add in light of the current UK measles epidemic, it is so sad to see that the loss in herd immunity due to opinions like this have led to the return of a disease we thought was nearly eradicated. Since last November, 1 in 5 infants who have caught this disease as they were too young to be vaccinated have had to be hospitalized. This is not a benign disease that we should be encouraging children to catch. You know what? That's an unquote. I don't know how much better you can get than obviously somebody who has fucking been through it.
Right. That needs to be like broadcast on every TV network.
It ought to be, but all they'll say is, at least my kids don't have autism.
Fuck you.
I find that attitude just so offensive. That's why I really...
It's infuriating because it falls in line with several other things I've read, that when people encounter scientific data that goes against their own notions, instead of trying to examine the data and rethink their position, they're more likely to go into unintelligible denial.
Mm-hmm.
And that's possible for both ends, whether you're talking about fights on religion, talking about fights on politics, fights about science, fights about medicine. Whenever somebody starts disagreeing with you fundamentally, instead of finding reasons why they don't disagree, they'll just come up with blanket statements that make no fucking sense, but they feel so unassailable at that moment.
Or you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's like when I start talking religion with somebody and why I don't believe in religion. Not what somebody else believes about it, why I don't. All they say is, but the Bible is God's word. Well, men wrote the Bible, but it's God's word. Okay, we're going around here. I should have the ability to form my own opinions without somebody else stomping on them just because that's not what they think. Yeah. We'll finish our what the fuck with an actual positive one. We showed the mashup earlier of styles between Momoro, Clover, Z, and Kiss.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was another mashup I came across just today that is something I did not think could ever work, and somehow it does. I am not a fan of Taylor Swift. I don't like her. I think she's too poppy and she's too weird for me. Her dating habits just fucking mystify me.
I really liked her most recent video. Very uplifting.
Oh, which one's that?
Shake it off.
Take it off? Okay. Would you believe that I say I have a video of a mashup between Taylor Swift's Shake It Off and Nine Inch Nails' The
I
Perfect
have heard
Drug?
of it. I haven't watched it. I am inclined to see it.
I have it. I take it you
Yes.
want it. Okay. The most astonishing part is, it doesn't suck. There it is. Now, obviously, it's using the bass line from Shake It Off there. But then the singing starts, and it lines up a little too well for my liking.
I like it. I wouldn't be surprised if she was influenced by Nine Inch Nails, to be honest.
Yeah, the video is on the channel of username Icesign. The deep trumpet, is that from the song, or is that something the mashup added in? I don't know anything about Shake It Off as a bass song.
I'm having difficulty differentiating the musics. The bass speed is Shake It Off.
Yeah, but the deep trumpet, I wonder if that's to cover up the mashup, or is that something that's actually in Shake It Off to begin with?
The drum beat, I'm pretty sure that's in Shake It Off.
Not the drum, the trumpet.
Oh. Yes, that is definitely in Shake It Off.
Okay. This works too well.
I love it.
Jesse, what do you think?
I can't tell. You couldn't tell me there are two different songs.
I really like this.
Watch, we're going to turn to a show that's suddenly filling up people's iPods with nonsense.
Yeah.
The imagery of the two videos is not working well, but the music actually it's very interesting. I heard this just before I came on to record the show, and I was just staring at my monitor going, why do I like this? And I couldn't give you a straight reason why I do, but I do. It's a little weird to see this happy, peppy cheerleader Taylor Swift interspaced by the lead singer of Nine Inch Nails looking like Snape from Harry Potter.
I'm not like a Taylor Swift fan in general. I like most of her other songs kind of bore me, but this song I find very uplifting and a positive message. Basically, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want.
Actually, the mix with the matchup and the lead singer calling Taylor Swift a perfect drug, I think that's exactly what he's saying. I'm gonna fuck you and do what I want.
Fair.
It's fucking bizarre, but I like it. Now he got to a section that seems like more Swift than the other guy. Trent Reznor, that's the name I've been trying to remember. Fuck.
I could have told you that.
Should have told you that. I rely on you guys to fill in the blanks here. Underneath the video, we'll link it in the show. He actually has a download link on where to get the song.
Nice.
I'm getting it.
This is one of those things where you're driving down the street in the freeway with your windows down, blaring it, and you've got people just staring in both windows wondering what fucking song you're listening to.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could listen to that too. I'm going to have so much weird stuff in my ears when I go to work. Okay, from there, we'll get into the actual conversation of the week. The first part of it is about Cowboy Bebop. Now, again, we're going to rehash some of the conversation because we lost it in the prior recording, which my computer ate somehow. And I must admit, I was kind of surprised going back to watch the first 4 episodes and finding out that the anime, even though it's 15 years old, it really does stack up very well with a lot of the animes going on today. You know, the writing in it is surprisingly strong, and it does one of those things that I enjoy about animes, how they can take things and just make them a little different, but still make a very cohesive story out of it. In this case, it's more of a Western than Star Wars is.
Yeah, it's almost more of a Western than Firefly is.
Yeah, I think that's what Star Wars, the first trilogy's main strength was, is that it started out primarily as a Western in space. You know, the young farm boy being led by the old gunslinger into a battle he's not prepared for. And Cowboy Bebop has a lot of the same vibe, just a little more traditional Western in the form that you have now, you know, almost like the Clint Eastwood character, the High Plains drifter who's coming in with the old cop and the old wagon and trying to catch bounties. And then you have the character of Faye Valentine, who's the hardcore gambler, usually the one who's wearing like a red velvet coat in movies. always has an ace hidden somewhere odd. And last time we got together, I called Ed, the hacker, I called her the crazy old cook. I'm going to revise that statement. I think she's the crazy prospector in the story.
Yes, that's better.
You know, the insane old man who has just that weird, eclectic amount of information that everyone requires. I think that's what Ed is in this series. And, no, I bought the series when it first came out, and we decided to revisit it because the Blu-ray came out recently. And just in rewatching it, you know, there was a little bit of nostalgia pumping through me, but at the same time, I was just sitting there going, this is a really good show. The character designs are a little dated, I think, though.
No?
Not terribly, but a little.
I was able to discern what was going on and could see everything clearly, and I'm just happy about that, because a lot of anime that I've seen, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, because all the colors are not contrasty enough.
Well, my character design I thought was really good. I didn't think it was dated. I thought I liked that every character, background, foreground, main character, had a different look. My only problem actually came down to Faye Valentine, who had the traditional anime face, which kind of threw me for a loop.
A little, but Faye Valentine, though, unfortunately has like one of my favorite voice actresses ever playing the role, so it's one of those things where it's almost hard for me to find fault. I think some of the advantages is that, one, like V said, these characters are very unique looking because, for once, we don't have a bunch of characters that are middle school age. They're not all wearing school
uniforms.
uniforms.
They're actually adults, or sort of adults.
Yeah. This is you're right, this is a series full of adults, with the exception of Ed. And technically the dog, but, you know, dog years and all that shit, so I don't know. But also, we have a bunch of characters who, unlike a lot of modern animes, have full backgrounds.
Yeah, fully developed histories.
You know, you've got... Spike is the former criminal who used to be an enforcer. Jet is the former cop. He used to be a detective. Ed is the lost orphan trying to find her parent. Faye, even though she has amnesia and almost no background, has a background as a grifter with an extreme debt load.
Yeah.
And when you think about a lot of modern animes, the most character backgrounds the most backgrounds a lot of modern characters get is, that's the cute one, that's the shy one, that's the one with huge tits. I'm an anime fan, but I'm saying this because it's absolutely true. There's not a lot of background thought put into characters these days. But, I mean, even some of the ancillary characters like Vicious or Julia have incredible stories. They're just not easy to tell over a 24-episode span. And that's the other thing. This series was during that period where anime was such a hot commodity. The average season wasn't 13 or 12 episodes, fucking 24, 26. You know, this is a very rich history. And I think in difference to a lot of series that come out, you know, there's always some series that work for different people. There's series that work for people who enjoy, you know, schoolgirl stories. There's animes that work for people who are fans of magical girls. There's animes for people who are fans of giant robots. Cowboy Bebop has enough little tropes and storytelling devices and themes throughout the series. There's a little bit of something for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially, I would say, sci-fi fans, though.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of hard to classify as sci-fi since a lot of the action is old-fashioned Western.
Yeah, but there's some definitive sci-fi traits, like they actually explain the function of the warp gates. And like, I thought it was so cool that when they closed the gate, they explained that you could see the matter, but it can't interact with space.
Normally, I would have written that off as some exposition dialogue that was completely unnecessary, but I already knew about Faye's backstory at the time, so it actually makes perfect sense.
Well, not just Faye's backstory. There was that episode that went into when the warp gates were created, even.
Yeah.
The gates are kind of part of the story of all characters, really.
Well, transportation is going to be really important in any Western.
Yeah.
True. Very true. It is so rare to have a series that seems to have thought from when it was created all the way through to when it was made, and even it seems like there was some plot holes left open just in case somebody wanted to revisit it later down the road. I grant you, though, I don't think the series could ever be the same because, at the end, spoiler, the main character dies. And as much as the other characters are interesting, his character was really the glue that held the whole series together. Mm-hmm. There was one movie that was produced after the series went off the air, but even then, they called it a side story. It was before Spike died. Yeah. And it was interesting. I don't think it was as good as the series, though. But I really wouldn't hesitate putting this in the hands of anybody over the age of 13, 14.
I would say it's definitely a must-see. If you're going to show anyone any anime, that's what to show them. I would say so, yes.
I'm a little astonished by that, simply because I know that you're not an anime fan.
I don't base this just on what I've seen, but just looking back over all the years of people talking to me about anime, Cowboy Bebop is the one that has stood out the most. The most people I know like it, the most people praise it, the most people suggest it to other people.
Yeah, that may be because of how culturally ambiguous it is. A lot of animes are very firmly based in the Japanese mythos and Japanese culture. Cowboy Bebop falls outside that, but even though it's a Western, it's not a specifically America culture-driven show. It's not a very UK culture-driven show. It created a culture all of its own, the same way that we kind of exist in this country of a mishmash of different ideas.
Right.
So it's very accessible to just about anybody. You don't need a thesaurus of Japanese culture to be able to understand it. And even the characters aren't wholly Japanese, I would say. Jet is very... The character archetypes are much more normalized. The most specialized one would be Spike Spiegel, but even then, he doesn't act like a typical Japanese male. He acts more like his spiritual successor, Bruce Lee. Or not successor, spiritual progenitor.
I could see that.
The character's motivations were all very much based on the philosophy of Bruce Lee. So it's very easy for somebody to get into with no knowledge whatsoever of Japanese culture.
In the wake of actually watching Cowboy Bebop, I decided to watch Outlaw Star.
Yeah.
I realized I don't like it anymore.
I didn't like it when I was going in. About 10 episodes in, I gave up on it.
Yeah, no, the thing is, when it first came out, when I watch shows, I go into watch it and higher brain fucking shut down. And it's pretty colors.
Well, I think that kind of strengthens how good Bebop is when we can revisit two animes from the same era, and one is a keeper and the other one doesn't seem to be.
And also, I mentioned this last time, I'm going to bring it up again. I believe I can really see the influences that Cowboy Bebop had on Firefly, particularly the music.
Now, you mentioned this before, that Cowboy Bebop was some kind of influence on
I'm
Firefly?
I'm 99% positive that I've heard Joss Whedon talk about how much Cowboy Bebop has influenced him, and there's some music that just sounds so similar that it can't not be.
Well, I mean, to touch on those points, I can see how certain characters in Cowboy Bebop are almost mirrored in Firefly. You know, Mal and Spike, and then River and Ed. There's not very good allegories for Jet and Faye in the series.
Right.
But that's probably because of the difference in how they started. You know, one's a bounty hunting crew, the other one's mercenaries.
And it's not like, I'm not saying they're like a total ripoff. I'm just saying it's influenced, inspired.
Oh, no. I understand. I totally understand. You know, it's like how Record of the Lotus Wars was basically written by somebody who was taking down notes during a D&D campaign. Sometimes the most interesting stories come out of places you don't expect. The other point that you made was the music, and I don't think it can be overlooked how big of an influence Yoko Kanno's work had on the whole of the series.
Yeah.
She made a very good soundtrack that was, while it was complicated in the use of certain instruments, it was very uncomplicated in how many instruments were used. It wasn't like full orchestra. It almost seems like at any given time there may have been a drummer, a guitarist, and a harmonica player, but not at the same time necessarily.
Right.
And it's like the opening theme, I couldn't even hum it to save my life, but I don't know anybody in a group of anime fans that when you play that song doesn't know what it is.
I remember
Everybody.
I remember seeing a guy dressed up as the saxophone guy from midway through the series playing it on the saxophone at ALA.
Yeah. I just wonder how many people cheered because he was playing music and how many people actually knew what that was. But again, it's a very ubiquitous tune. I hope I'm using that word correctly.
Present everywhere?
No, then that wouldn't be correct. It's a very unique tune.
There you go.
You know, a lot of people who've heard it know precisely what that is. So I think it's an easy recommend, frankly. It's too simple to just give to anybody who wants to get a start in anime and say, where do I start? Start right here. But it's old. Fuck you, it's old. Start here.
Honestly, it's probably better if it's old, because then you get a sense of the history of things.
Yeah, but old doesn't necessarily mean good. I mean, when you talk about Dragon Balls, no.
Fair.
No.
G.I. Joe,
it's not a story
Transformers,
that's
Thundercats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dragon Ball isn't so much a good story as it is a walking Mortal Kombat session. The other part of this, since Steve is out and we need to fill a little more time, that I wanted to talk to you guys about is another animated series that I think we've all seen. I'm curious to know your opinions on it.
What's that?
The Venture Brothers.
Venture Brothers? I love the Venture Brothers.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who haven't even heard of the Venture
Really?
Brothers.
Venture Brothers is one of 2 animated series that I watched, and the other one is Archer.
Now, for those of you who are just scratching your head, probably anybody listening in the UK, frankly, the Venture Brothers is basically what would happen if you took the concept of Johnny Quest, modernized it, and then force-fed it Heisenberg's crap. You know, the most recognizable voice I could think of would be Patrick Warburton playing the race Bannon allegory on the show, Brock Sampson.
Yeah.
He is a bodyguard who is so vicious he doesn't even use guns because he doesn't think they're fair.
Yeah.
He uses a single Bowie knife.
And his hands.
To murderous and useful intent. Yeah. It is a hard show to describe in simple terms, but as the writers of the show put it, the theme of the series is failure. You have a super scientist who's a failure at being a scientist. You have a bodyguard who's a failure at being a secret agent. You have a pair of boy detectives who's a failure at just about everything.
Yeah.
You know, and the series is, 5 seasons deep now, and nobody has really done anything particularly well.
Except for Brock Sampson.
Well, he kills well, but he's still kind of a failure as a human being.
Yeah.
You know, it's like even the main nemesis of the show,
Monarch!
Yeah. When he tries to arch, he does it terribly. When he doesn't really try is when things seem to go his way.
The Monarch is one of the best characters on the show.
Actually, I thought the breakout hit of this whole thing was Dr.
Yes!
Girlfriend.
Oh my god, she's so awesome. She's so awesome.
I did not think there was I did not think there was a female character with such a manic, man-style, deep baritone, gruff voice that I could actually have like a slight chubby.
Yeah.
And it's so great because you know there was a joke going in, like they didn't expect this character to last, but somehow this character's endured to the point where it is now a joke even among the writers of the series that certain people think this is a dude.
Yeah.
Was it the second season where there was the rumor going around that she had like a baboon's uterus installed?
Oh, I don't remember that offhand.
I remember the conversation at some point where there was the assumption he had a monkey vagina put in when she was like transgendered or something. And it turns out over the course of the series, you find out that she's been a woman the whole time.
Just a heavy smoker.
Actually.
It's true. They found out that she was a smoker, and they said, I didn't know she was a smoker. You couldn't tell by that voice.
Yeah, that's great. I forgot about that part.
That was a joke even in the recent special they put up.
Which I still need to see. Damn it.
She had to break out of somewhere, and she was working with another supervillain called the Phage. And as she's sitting down, she just says, sorry about that time where I lifted you up and touched your lady bits. You know, I just didn't think you had those. It's okay. Happens a lot. I can't believe how many nerdy references are in the show.
It's nerd heaven. That's why I love it. One of the reasons I love it.
Ever since the first episode, it's like every 5 minutes there's some kind of weird reference to something you wouldn't expect. I mean, for fuck's sake, even in the special, there was a Mad Max reference, a Thunderdome reference. I think one of the favorite episodes that showed that off was when the Monarch's cocoon was taken over by gangsters.
What?
And Agent 23 decides to arm them with everything in his closet, which turned out to be a bunch of, like, was it a pair of Hulk hands? Replica of Captain America's shield. Somebody even picked up Gandalf's sword, and as soon as he tried to open up, he just said, no way, dude, don't remove it from the box. So you want me to swing it like this? Do not take it out of the box, man.
There's even, like, grammar jokes in there, like, are these they? Who talks like that? I talk like that.
I wish I could recommend it to more people, but it's easy to see how there's going to be a lot of people out there who wouldn't get the show at all.
There's that.
Normally, I would not be one to watch this show, but I don't know, there's some weird charm that it got me hooked.
It's because they're all losers.
Huh.
Every single one of them is a fucking loser. You know, even Brock Sampson, his love life sucks.
Yeah. Molotov cocktease.
Yeah. Yeah, you heard them right. There's a character in this show, a Russian assassin called Molotov Cocktease. It can't get more literal than that.
Yep, she does exactly that.
That stupid heart-shaped chastity belt she wears. War. I guess it was War until the last season. He's taking it off for that guy Monstroso, who's like 3 times the size of a normal man. Couldn't believe that when she announced her love for that, and he just says, how could you go out with him? Well, he's 3 times the times of normal man. So... oh, God, I don't want to know more. No. The only characters I'm actually tired of are the title characters. The young Venture brothers there are just kind of irritating.
Yeah. Oh, I like Dr. Venture. I just find him, I don't know, I just like him.
Dr. Venture is a very acerbic character. He's definitely what would happen if Dr. Quest was an asshole.
I like that acerbic quality. It's just amusing to me.
He seems... I've never seen a character that has so many ready put-downs for everybody else in the show. It always seems like he has like 2 or 3 in the hopper just ready. God, I'm trying to think because the show goes so many places. Now, you guys have seen the seasons. I am convinced that even though everyone vilifies his father, Dr. Jonas Venture, I think Jonas was an asshole.
Yeah, I thought he was established.
I wonder if there's a lot of people who watch the series who don't seem to understand that. I mean, what was it? Rusty himself said that I think during his 10th birthday, his father brought like 5 prostitutes and didn't leave him any.
Yeah.
You know, his father developed these beds to teach his son so he didn't have to. He had all these interesting projects. It really had nothing to do with his son unless he seemed to be using him as live bait somehow.
Yeah. So...
you know, it's no wonder Rusty can't raise his boys. He has no idea how to do it.
Because his parent was awful.
Oh, God, yeah. Anybody have any theories as to who the boy's mother is?
Nope.
Wasn't it that... Sorry.
You mean that crazy special agent who was babysitting him before Brock?
Yeah.
They debunked that.
Really?
Towards the end of the last season, the lady said she wanted to give birth to Dean like she always should have if she was his real mother, so they tried to grease him up and insert him into her vagina at his current age so that she could squirt him back out.
Okay.
Thankfully, it did not get this far. Thankfully. But that left the mystery of who their mother is wide open again.
Oh, there's a third Venture brother.
For those of you people listening, I'm serious. They had an episode where they tried to grease up one of the teenagers and shove him into a woman's vagina.
For those of you who are interested and have not seen it, not safe for work.
Right.
But you might be able to pull it off with that My Little Pony blow-up doll we were talking about. Somebody was about to ask something before I took a tangent.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Derailed.
Yep.
You know what? If there were side characters I would like to see get more time, it would be Dr. Orpheus.
Yes, Dr. Orpheus is great.
Dr. Orpheus in Necromancer. He's kind of like a weird cross between Vincent Price, Doctor Strange, and Christopher Lee.
He's always speaking in an extremely melodramatic voice. It's great. His daughter's like the only normal character in the entire show.
Triana. I'd like to see more of her, too, now that she's learning some extra crafts. You know, I don't necessarily want to see her get back into some kind of weird relationship with Dean. She has more of a normal outlook on life, and it might be interesting to see how she looks at everything going on. You know, I especially liked when he was thinking about bringing back the souls of the Venture twins after they died. And he told his daughter not to touch any of the summoning circle on the floor because she might make the cat huge. What kind of fucking logic is that? You know, and let alone he created that dimensional space in the Doc's garage, so he had his own mansion underneath Venture Industries.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people scratching their heads, but this is what this series entails.
It's a lot of fun. Oh, and the boys are clones.
Yes. They're clones of clones, yeah. The original Venture boys died, and it turns out there's been 30 iterations of the Venture brothers. Some of them had died doing stupid things like smoking and somehow blowing up a propane tank.
I don't think there are any more clones now, though.
No, they took that storyline out. It's just them now. The clone facility's been destroyed. Especially one of the characters that I like, and I know it's a niche character, is goddamn the Blackula hunter. What's his name? Jefferson?
I don't know.
I don't remember. It's not it.
Oh, this is going to bother me. I like the fact that he's a character that only hunts black vampires.
I know who you're talking about, but yeah, he's one of the
the Order of the Trident. Yeah. His name is Jefferson Twilight.
That's right.
He's a half vampire man who only hunts black vampires.
If they're not black, he gives them a pass.
I know, and he only rips out their fangs before he kills them too.
Which is weird.
He grabs their fangs with his thumbs and forefingers and just pulls. The guy is just insane. Like he was chasing that one black vampire, and Dr. Orpheus appeared in front of him spatially. He said, "Damn it, that one got away. You know I hate it when you do that. You get blue balls in my blood eye."
Yeah, I like this show a lot. The first season, okay, if anyone starts on the first season, though, it is a little rough, and the art style is much shakier, and it gets better. Trust us.
But it takes so many weird sci-fi tropes and just turns them on their head for the sake of fun.
Yeah.
You know, that whole episode where Dr. Venture created a joy box?
The episode where he has an evil twin. Yeah. And he continues to have an evil twin. Except he's the evil twin.
Fantastic Four ripoff.
Let's see. Oh, Professor Impossible, yeah. Played by Stephen Colbert.
Oh, and my two favorite characters are two of my favorite characters, 21 and 22, I think they are.
Oh, 21 and 23.
Yeah, 21 and 23.
One's a Ray Romano ripoff. The other one is kind of like a quieter version of the fat comic book guy from The Simpsons. I especially like 23, man. He is so nerdcore.
They're great.
Dude, you guys are acting more nervous than Alex and Sam on an episode of Totally Spies.
Nice job on the voice there.
Thank you. May found something I could actually do.
Okay, we're gonna.
Oh God! Remember when 21 and 23 had that new henchman 1 with
Yeah.
them? They kept trying to tell him not to try so hard.
Yeah. And then he.
Dude, we're like popular side characters here. We're practically invulnerable.
Yeah.
I especially
I
like that
love when they're
I especially
aware of
like when
things
they're
like that.
Yeah, they kept talking to him. He said, "Dude, seriously, what's your name?" Scott Hall. Oh, you told me your name. Now you're gonna die. What are you talking about? No, you already told me your name, and now I'm gonna be bent over when you're lying there dying. Go, Scott, don't die on me now, you bastard! You totally called it. Stop it! You're creeping me out.
Doesn't he in fact die? Yes.
He gets beaten to death by Brock Simpson. That was the best part of the episode because at the end they're just like, "Congratulations on the maneuver. Where's Henchman 1? Oh, dude, Brock Sampson got it. Oh, Sampson got it. Oh, stop talking. I don't even want to know."
What episode was the one where all the henchmen were trying to stop Brock Sampson with all their tranquilizer darts, and they just covered his entire back with darts, but he still got that one henchman in his grip and completely chokes.
That was the very first actual episode past the pilot. I don't remember what it was called. It was like Dia de los Muertos or something. But it was before Henchman 21 and 23 came in, and they just had the one named henchman of Speedy who wanted his wings. That was memorable because he was choking the guy to death even though he was unconscious with all those needles in his back.
Yeah.
To the point where they just decided to trank Speedy to give him a quiet end. And when they buried Brock, later on the doc found him with a tracer. Brock sat up out of the earth, still clutching Speedy by the neck.
That was great.
Brock is fucking inhuman. Remember what he did to the Monarch in the pilot?
No, I didn't see the pilot.
The Monarch had been following the Venture brothers around trying to figure out how to kill them, but he just kept missing, and Brock caught up to him first, grabbed him by the head, and shoved his thumbs in his eyes. The next thing you see is at the end of the credits is the Monarch with his arms and legs broken in the hospital, and the doctor tells him, "It's amazing you survived with all these injuries, Mr. the Monarch. By the way, we pumped your stomach and we pulled these out," and somebody holds up his wings. "What do you want us to do with them?" "Just throw those out."
This is a great show.
I know it. I'm sorry, ladies and gents. I know you're just trying to follow along. We're nerding up hardcore on a series that I think more people should be watching.
It's so dark. It's hilarious. It's nerd heaven. But if you can't handle gore and heavy sexual innuendo,
Normally I can't, but for some reason this has some weird charm to it.
If you have any sort of nerdy prospect from now all the way back to the 1970s, this show will make fun of it thoroughly. You know, whether your interest is time travelers, whether your interest is old sci-fi, whether your interest is just plain watching people fall on their ass, this show has a little bit of everything. And it's an easy recommend to anybody over the age of, let's say, 16.
Yeah.
You know, it will have all kinds of stuff that'll just tickle your
kids,
funny
if you're
bones.
watching below that age, don't tell your parents.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with it. All right, I think we're set to go here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Next week, now that we're back on track, we're going to read the first few issues of the new Deathstroke series, now that we found out that the DC character has been de-aged recently. It's definitely a new type of story, and maybe it'll make the character a little more compelling in my eyes. And yes, I know that Deadpool is basically originally a ripoff of Deathstroke. I totally get that. But they're so different now, I can't even recognize it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great week. I am Jeremy.
Jesse.
And V.
Don't jerk and drive. Have a great one.